That's what happened last time, and you couldn't hear the. I thought about that. You were gonna say something, but it was about a previous conversation. It was when EXE was saying that he did something democratically. I just thought about it more. Um, because immediately intuitively it was, this is so obviously not democratic, but I had to explain it to myself, to be thinking, or to think that no, actually I could never see how he saw that as democratic. Yeah, I don't think you could. It's him checking with other people that are sort of don't really care which way it goes. Hey, yeah, I want this guy banned. By the way, he's moving the positions of people, or he's attempting to move the positions of people. And I didn't add one element, is that he paid trickies to get perms to ban.
What?
Yeah, yeah. It was a paid component too, which is it's just... yeah,
That's how you know it's ultra democratic is when you're paying off
yeah,
the fucking moderators.
exactly right. It sounds so insane. Yeah, I
That's
didn't
so
add that
crazy.
part, but yeah, he did pay trickies, but it was so crazy to me because it's Frenzy just had no way to change the opinion. He was basically frozen out.
Yeah.
EXE had the control of, let's say, he was the media. He had the control of the entire media apparatus, and
Yeah,
then
exactly.
Frenzy is just, he has no voice. He has no platform to talk on. He doesn't even know what's happening. So, a bunch of neutral figures are just moving into what EXE wants because it's EXE's will that's being imposed. It's fucking bullshit.
Yeah, he's the only one that cares enough to really push this.
Exactly.
Like Frenzy doesn't care enough to be like fighting back, really. I think ultimately, like that's another problem. Like,
I don't even know, but yeah.
well, no, I mean, in like a larger sense of like he gets kicked, he's like messaging people, why did I get kicked? You know, he's not doing that. Like he's like, okay, well,
Okay, yeah. Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Right,
So
in a
I mean,
sense.
it's kind of annoying that he has to kind of be making this choice of like deciding like, do I care enough to fight back? You
Mm-hmm.
know, it's kind of fucked up because it's like he probably did like being in zoo. I mean, he was in there a lot. He talked constantly there. Like I don't know, it's been in there for longer than I was in there. You know, so
Yeah, longer than I was too, so that was insane.
insane. Have you
uh,
talked to EXE recently, or just like since we?
uh, I think I was just messaging him and that's it. Sometimes he messages me. He sent me a oh no, he was talking about Galactic. Galactic he's having this one-sided beef with Galactic where he's really upset of the lack of messages. I told you about this last time.
Oh yeah, yes, yes.
And so he said, "Hey, we need an intervention. I'm really unsatisfied with stuff. Well, we need to talk or something, something like that." And then he said, "Yeah, dude, if somebody sent me something like that, I would have responded." And I'm going, "You guys, you might not realize, but he showed me about a bunch of their DMs, and they're very
Oh sure,
sparse,
yeah,
very sparse. They
very
really
smart.
just don't message each other at all. It's they're
Okay.
spending sometimes weeks not responding to each other. So I'm going, you're probably just not a top priority for him at this point, at this juncture, just because you don't message each other all that often anyway. You shouldn't expect a response immediately when you didn't even message him back. After he sent you something, and then you waited 9 days to respond with, "Hey, I kind of want to
Well,
talk
because that's
about
so
this now."
petty. That's so petty, right? That's so petty.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know,
So
EXE's like wanting to message every single day, but being like, no, I gotta win this. Like I can't.
that is the exit. Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, I told him that, and he said, "Yeah." He said, "Thanks for the advice," and then he sent me something on Twitter, and I said, "Yeah, that's well done." We haven't messaged each other since that was yesterday. I sent him the message. We
Gotcha.
So yeah, I haven't really talked to him. But yeah, I actually was going to talk to him about that democratic thing because that was one of those things where, yeah, I like EXC, but I would never invite him into, if I was gonna have another group of friends, I'd never invite him to it because he is that clandestine, doing things in the
Yeah.
background. He isn't upfront with things, and no one's forced him to operate like that. I'm the only sort of force doing that, and trickies and sort of the system, not system, but sort of the friend group he's in, they're also
Yeah.
they're not very confrontational. They're
Yeah, they're very
very
secretive
secretive,
too. Yeah, 100%.
and so no, I just couldn't. I couldn't deal with somebody like that being in a friend group. I think people are generally, not everyone is super confrontational, but to that extent where you're kicking somebody out of group, I'm not into that. That's in that way, and then you think that you're in the right to it. It's the delusional part that really
Yeah,
gets
the
me.
delusional part's kind of crazy. The
Oh,
lack of self-reflection and like questioning is like it's like are you not thinking about this or are you pretending you didn't think about this to not get like blame? Like,
mhm.
cause you know what I mean? Because it's like the idea of like, well, I didn't even think about friends. It's like you did because you went behind everyone's back secretly and like one on one, like talk to them. Like it was like when Phoenix went. I mean, remember you remember my like take on this? Like when he went like one on one to everybody
Oh,
behind like
I made the same connection. Yeah, this was
right.
this
I
was
mean,
insane.
it
Yeah.
was it was obvious to me in that moment, and like it's like one of those things where it's like I think most people don't care to think enough about things to notice these things. But yeah, I mean, that's obviously self justification to get the thing they wanted. Like, it's not even a, to me, it's not even a question, you know?
Yeah. So yeah, I made
I
that
don't trust that.
connection. Yeah, what'd you say?
Got you. No, I don't trust like that. I don't like the clandestine thing as much. But I mean, obviously, people are going to talk to each other. They're not going to always be open with each other. But like, I think if it's like a group friend thing, like, there needs to be a level of openness with what's going on.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, I saw them. I mean, they're like all in zoo right now. Like, let's see.
I saw EXE playing Minecraft there as I was looking through the messages. So I kind of guessed there's no way he's playing Minecraft. I've never seen. Actually, I don't
Well,
think.
actually, he might be alone right now, but because he's not in the, but he
Mhm.
was in like the call with like because right now it's Galactic, Affirm, someone in Paper Like Nests, Leak the Take. Oh, that might be EXE. That
Mhm.
EXE?
I have no idea.
L- Leia, Kate.
I don't know any of these people.
That is in fact EXE. He just changes his name constantly. Yeah, so it's EXE, Galactic, and Yezi and Affirm. They're all in a call.
Well, that's funny because he was
Yeah,
telling me
I never
that.
know his name. What's changing?
Yeah, it's always changing. Yeah, oh, I'm really surprised. Wait, for me, EXE's name is just EXE, but I guess I just in the server, or maybe I'm just really.
Yeah,
Oh, it's
I think it's a
Jivney.
server.
Jivney, yeah.
Yeah, it's Shivan.
It's It was really surprising because he was saying that. Oh, I don't. Actually, I think you were there at that moment where Yezi comes up and he just starts talking shit about Yezi. Yeah, he was really.
Yeah,
He was just like, "What the fuck? What are you talking referencing Yezi?" And I go, "Hey, don't do that because these people don't really interact with Yezi." So I just don't want somebody to have a bad impression of somebody before they've even met them when there's a
right.
possibility of a person meeting them because that's what you call it. That's at your own discretion. That's not for me to tell you, and that's there, to the extent of, oh yeah, this person should actually be avoided. But it's not like that. It's oh, this guy kind of acts like a clown. It's
Yeah,
that
yeah, yeah,
level
yeah.
of he's kind
Pre-poisoning
of
the reputation.
stupid.
Yeah,
Yeah,
poison the reputation ahead of time.
yeah, I really.
Yeah, big time.
And the thing is, it's one of those things where you have to understand that maybe 2 years ago there was just an impulse for EXE to just talk about Yezi. He would just sit there and just start talking about Yezi. And you're just thinking,
That's so
what
funny.
the fuck is happening? He's just and so on. And there was this thing. I think Frenzy's quite gossipy, but it's really funny because he actually tells you about stuff that's happening behind the scenes where he says, "Oh yeah, by the way, some people don't like you." He will tell you that, which is really funny.
Oh yeah,
So,
100% he will.
um, and he was on stream, and I was just in the chat, and he was telling Yezi, because Yezi happened to be in the chat too. He was saying, "Yeah, by the way, EXE's talking so much shit," and I just know because I've been there in the calls. And then Yezi leaves because he's saying, "Oh, I don't even believe what he's saying." I'm just thinking, wow, Yezi just being really trusting of his friend was really. I just
That
felt
is
so
really
bad for
interesting.
him. Yeah, he's really naive, and I think Yezi does take those friendships seriously and those betrayals seriously. So
Oh, definitely.
Yezi just talking shit. I don't know why. I know
Big
why he
mistake.
did it. yeah, that was awful. And so for Yazzie, and he was, I think it was just you know, maybe a few weeks ago, was saying maybe not even that long. He was saying, "Oh, Yazzie, I don't really like that guy." So him being in VC with Yazzie is really really funny. I
It
can't
is funny.
I, I'm just never getting a straight answer with who he likes and he doesn't like, because he was telling me, oh, and you know, I'm pretty sussed about this person. He's just sending me some personal stuff, and I'm thinking, how are you to the point that he's sending you personal stuff? He's VIP in your chat, but you're telling me that you're really apprehensive about the friendship. And I'm just thinking, yeah, he's just sort of justifying.
Yeah.
I don't even know, or just keeping me in the dark
No, oh no, no,
because
he's
it's really
trying to
embarrassing.
kind of have a middle ground because he knows your opinion of Ender. And so he's having to kind of act as if he's like what's in his mind is up for consideration. But as you're saying, his actions are so transparent. It's not even like a it's not even like a good cover. It's like pretty obvious what's going on,
So
right? Like
pathetic, yeah.
yeah.
So
Which like I mean, yeah, again, it's like but it which I think is also interesting because it contradicts your whole complaint wasn't like that a person came
yes, he just
back
sent me a
or
friend
like
request, by the way. It was really
wait, what?
strange. Yeah, yes, he just sent me a friend request. I mean, I accepted it. Probably yes, but
Like
it's
seconds ago?
really strange. Yeah, like I thought that was just you typing in chat, and so it's when we're
No,
talking about Yeti.
so random. That's so random.
Yeah, it's really
But
funny. Yeah,
your complaint wasn't like someone coming back like in the abstract. It was like more just the sense of dishonesty and lack of transparency and openness taking place in like regards to what people had been saying for so long, right? Like the lack of consistency, candor, seriousness taking place. And it's like, if that's your main critique that made you leave, that people just like they weren't talking to each other, they were kind of being behind each other's back, like EXE kind of having cover stories, which he's not, oh, I don't know about Ender. Like that's not helpful in the long run, right? Like that like, goes against everything you're saying, I feel like.
exactly. Yeah. So in terms of being on a one, I can just get along with him because I don't have to deal with
Yeah.
any of those extra social elements that just come up when you're dealing with a whole friend group. And I just get to deal with our shit, just one on one, and I really like that. It was just really, it's fun for me to talk to EXE because for me, this is somebody that's younger than me, and I have started to see myself more as sort of like a mentor, or me saying
Oh
stuff
yeah.
to him. I started to see that way more, and so me, I told him this one thing where it's nice. Um, it's one of those things where I think when you're older, I start I see I start seeing the way my sister interacts with my parents, and I go, wow, this is just so fucking disgusting. I don't even know you could act like this. Somebody
Mm.
that's just feeding you and all that stuff. And then I'm going, man, I just did the same shit. I was
Yeah.
very problematic as a child, and so um the fact that your parents just keep on going, continue to support you, I'm just going, fucking hell, that's crazy. That's serious dedication to the craft of being a
100%.
parent. When you also have to, you know, you come back home after doing your, you know, shit 9 to 5, and then, oh, okay, it's time to, you know, sort out my kid, you know, make sure they're fed, you know, fed properly, put them to sleep. I'm thinking, fuck, that is time consuming just for somebody that is never going to appreciate you as much as they appreciate you. You appreciate them. Well,
Yeah.
that's to me, I couldn't do that. So, but to give just
Mm.
this extra leniency to somebody. I'm not dealing with everyone's bullshit, but
Right. But
giving
some
extra.
people,
Mhm. I think for
right?
EXE, I will give the leniency where it's. I think we've been fairly close, to the point where I'm never gonna, you know, do a stark break in friendship. I just don't want to talk to you anymore. But it's gonna be, our friendship is definitely gonna be limited in the sense that I I'm not interacting with the friend groups that you're in. Maybe I'll interact with the other people that you talk to one on one, but it's we're not talking to each other together because you cannot operate in these kind of in these kinds of
It was
environments in a
transparently.
way that what'd you say?
Transparently, like in a way that is like,
Transparently, exactly.
yeah, that you like respect or value. Like, because yeah, that's the thing is like you made a statement of your like your values by leaving and like all that, and it's like you would think that would be taken, I think, a little more directly. Like, I don't
Absolutely
because like
wasn't. Yeah.
also like why not just be open about these things to you in the sense of you're not there anymore. So it's not like there's an issue in like, oh, well, if I say to this person one thing and this person the other thing, they're going to talk to each other. It's like, why wouldn't EXE just be even more open with you now that you've left? It's almost like he's being more close with you because he's worried about losing you more,
Yeah, possibly.
But it's like, yeah, but it's not like he's like, but it doesn't make any sense in the context of like, but what you're wanting is like candor and like get like consistent, like knowing where people stand with each other kind of thing,
Mm-hmm. Um.
So it's just working against that interest, I think.
Mm-hmm. Also, I don't know. You wanted to say something, but I rudely interrupted with going to the toilet. What did you want to say? Unless you want to keep on talking about
Oh
this.
yeah,
I don't.
we can talk about let's keep talking about this because I don't remember what I was going to say. Because I went to go to the bathroom too and got water and stuff. So yeah, I was reading something about how like friendships and any relationship have to be co-evolutionary. Like there's a way in which there has to be this kind of feedback in which both kind of parties feel they're growing and sort of feel like they're coming more into themselves, or like that the self who they were is like being bettered by the person they're becoming in the presence of another. Like that's kind of the ideal we all strive for. And I think that's also, I was thinking about that with like, like you felt probably like you were regressing, like in the, if we're going back to the private, we're going back to the private calls, we're going back to the, petty in group, like different server, like bullshit that you thought you got past. It's like, it feels like de-evolution probably for you in that context of like Zoo, where it, you probably needed something different, I think.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It was absolutely it's not even, I think it's stagnant in the times that I'm just, it's just really weird because so when I'm in when I was in Zoo, I bounced around different people in terms of who was my sort of main person I talked to in that server, where I talked to everyone. But I always felt more of the initially when I came in, I was definitely the outsider in terms of I'm never gonna have somebody in my corner the whole time. It's gonna be me versus everyone just arguing, and I like that dynamic. Back in
Yeah.
2022, I really just like arguing. Well, back then I liked arguing and frivolous arguments, and so that's what I did. But later, my dynamics changed. It was probably when it came to I think early on it was probably Frenzy that I was closest to. He talked in there more, and then it moved on to EXE because we're into fighting games. No, it was me, Yezi, and EXE just had this. We were just the Three Musketeers. We because of Souls, EXE got into Souls, and then Yezi also started playing Souls, and so it was just like we had to be playing the games together, and that was still I think some of the magical times I've had gaming because it was sort of like me watching them play because they were new to it, and so I was just creating so much. I was sort of I was sort of a promoter, a boxing promoter, where I was just making it seem lifelike. And EXE took it so seriously. That's where he sort of he was sort of promoting himself, where he's talking so much, he's so into it. He sort of just, I'm like Chael Sonnen, and he's I'm not, my heart is not really into it, but I know all the right things to say to get a rise out of somebody, and then he's just teetable with tease, where he's actually like kind of pissed at what's being said, and he's trying to just say all this stuff. He was just aiming it at Yezi, because Yezi was sort of, he couldn't say anything to me, but so he was just saying it about Yezi. He was trying to lower Yezi to raise his own stocks up. So we were sort of the Three Musketeers, but then it's really weird. Like sometimes it would just be me and Yezi. It would just be me and Yezi just talking alone to each other. And then other times it would be later on. It would be me and EXE would just be the closest. And then I think after that me and Tricky's just somehow became close because he was doing the Siberia stuff. And then it came all the way back to me and EXE being the closest. And a lot of these times were because I would change who I'm talking to the most. It's all because of private call stuff. That's the thing. That's always been the thing where I've been stagnant. I always had a problem with all this private call stuff, but it would just be me finding somebody else to sort of be friends with, and I would always be unsatisfied because I remember me and Yezi talking about this. where I just got. I feel, I feel kind of isolated from whatever the fuck they're doing, because where are the messages? You sort of just disappear. Somebody would have just disappeared one day, and I'm just going, what the fuck is happening? What did you do? And it
Yeah,
turns out,
I'm
they
gonna
were doing
die.
some. Um, they were, just talking to other members, but in a private call. And the Trickies had a problem with this too, which is funny. After everything that happened, it's just, oh wow, you just did sort of the same thing, but you did you just made a copy of Zoo. You had a copy of Zoo that you could use.
Alt
Um,
zoo.
and
My
so
alt zoo. I'm on my alt
yeah,
zoo right now.
old
Sorry, one
old
second.
Zoo,
I'm on
right?
my alt. I'm on my
Guys,
alt. I'm on my alt zoo. My alt account.
where
My alt
everyone
zoo.
is in apart from me or other people. Basically, the only main member that wasn't in was me. So
That's the thing. That's the other part, right? Is because it's like I wasn't there, but also I would never expect to be there. Like how would I like right? Like why would
exactly,
I ever
right.
expect that? I'm not like yeah, exactly.
Um,
And that but what's crazy, that's not even why you left. You just intuited that that was taking place. I think that's also
mhm,
interesting. Is like you just saw the pattern happening again.
yeah.
You didn't even need proof because it was an obvious pattern. It's not even, you know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
people, you don't need to see in message, we made another zoo for the purpose, right? You like were had a sense you're like, they're on definitely. There's group chats going on. Like, you know what I mean? You had a sense of like it was going on.
Yeah, yeah. So it was a while after that where oh yeah, people would message me in Zoom and I'd just start typing in DMs. I don't even want to type in the server anymore, but I was still in there, and then eventually I just went, "Whoop, I'm leaving this. I don't want to be a part of that." So it was the sense that yeah, it just stagnated. It was I noticed all the problems in the group, and then I just never acted on any of those until now, and I'm glad I did, because it allows me to just put more thought into okay, if I do find a friend group, I definitely don't want it
Devolve.
to devolve or even just resemble anything to do with Zero. I want that upfront um, characteristics that I value, at least. I'm a fairly candid person.
I think that's tough to find. Like full candor is like tough to find. We're not, obviously never going to get full candor, but it's tough to find. I think that level of candor in groups in general
Mhm.
because there's always these like micro hierarchies. You know, there's always these like roles and micro hierarchies. I think.
Yeah, I was
So
thinking that
yeah,
I don't know. I've seen it in too many dynamics where there are just um there are sort of dynamics where that people are doing things behind the scenes, and um thinking is like how where would I find the right people to be okay, these are the people that also have the same candor,
yeah,
and not to and I expect secretive stuff to just happen, that
of course, yeah.
stuff like that just happens, but not to the extent that it happened into where it was just a very common thing where you're talking to the same people, but you don't feel like talking to somebody, and that's just not really clear. That's not made clear that oh yeah, I'm sort of the times where I would be talking to one person, that person would just be gone because they're dragged into it. This is basically Tricky's
Mm.
critique was some. I want to talk to this person, let's say Galactic, but then EXE is dragging him into a private call, so I can't talk to
Oh right.
Galactic because when Galactic would normally be on, EXE is demanding a private call. And so now I don't get to talk to one of my friends. But it's not one of those things where, okay, some people just want to spend time alone. It's one of those things that's done in secret, or I go, where nothing is said, and then you just have a week of where is everyone? What's happening? And then no one's saying it's like, oh
Yeah.
yeah, by the way, I'm playing with this person. It would sometimes get really to the point where EXE, and he would do this so much, where you would be typing in the main chat and EXE would be typing in the main chat just to Galactic, and then I think at one point I just lost my mind. I said, Trickies, can you just ban EXE because I can't fucking stand this shit. How is this happening? It's to that level of just um trying to drag somebody out of the server so that they can talk, basically trying to exclude somebody from, not exclude somebody, but basically that they were best friends, and so he just wanted he wanted all the attention of
Exactly.
Galactic,
Yeah.
and so
Felt
focused
threatened.
in on that to the point where you couldn't even type to him. It was, he would never respond to your messages, just a Galactic, and it was just so ugh. um in the sense that also, yeah, this guy's kind of obsessed with him too, and now I'm thinking about all this this sort of galactic thing that he's going through, and I wonder if Galactic is on the same page as you were saying, where EXE is kind of a threat to the relationship, and I
Yeah.
wonder if Galactic, to an extent, realizes that, and so he's distancing himself, but he isn't being candid about it, which also really sucks too. I wish you'd just say that.
It does, yeah. But I think if he is thinking that, it's not just his own thoughts, like probably like partly the product of the girlfriend. But I think if he is confronted on it, I think he would blame it on the girlfriend without admitting that he also sees it. You know, I think that's the thing, is like he definitely would have he probably sees it, but in like a limited sense at first, and then he really saw it when the girlfriend started saying about it, and then now he probably agrees, right? But then it's like, well, he
Yeah.
can't. If he was to say that to EXE that he agrees that way, that's a big blow to the friendship. So it has to be like, oh, my girlfriend said we can't, you know, or like, oh, she's not comfortable with, you know, like that kind of thing, right? Which is, I think, the same thing of
Because
the lack of a candor. Yeah,
he's just in a position where he can't even evolve past the whole, okay, and maybe I got too obsessed with this person to the point where they see me as a threat. He's sort of in a realm where he's existing, where it's, this guy's isn't prioritizing my friendship. What the fuck is happening? You can
right.
have a best friend and a girlfriend. This is something that's really up here. I don't understand what's going on. It's just really confusing the kid. I call him a kid, but guy's 19. But yeah,
It's got, you know.
yeah, he's super confused, and I think he should get that, shot in the heart of. If that's how Galactic truly feels, hey, I I can't see you as a threat right now, or whatever the fuck he sees him as, and I just wanna pull back. I think
I think it's what he did. I mean, that's what I think is going on with why the messages are so sparse. You know, I mean, I think
mm,
that's the.
these things
Sorry,
like
sorry. You.
I called it the sort of the infinite room or something. Got infinite
Okay.
corridor where you exist in the infinite corridor, and you want to the infinite corridor is basically you want to take a point in time and then preserve it for as long as possible. So let's say somebody dies, and you don't want to accept that they die, so you live in this infinite corridor where you haven't
Yeah.
accepted their death, and because if you accept their death, then they are actually dead, and so you don't want to move in outside of that infinite corridor, so you would preserve that. And I was saying this to EXE when he first told me about this whole drama or whatever, but war, he's Cold War, he's fighting with his
The Cold
girlfriend.
War. Yeah.
Where I said I think Galactic is just doing the infinite corridor where he's preserving where your friendship is, and he's sort of he's in the position now that he's in this infinite corridor to benefit from sort of the friendship in a way that you can't, in the sense that EXE's upset with the way the friendship is going, but Galactic is just preserving what he cares about. Sort of he's sort of dictating how the friendship goes, and he's preserving that, where he's fine with the sort
Yeah.
of intermittent response, but his girlfriend probably isn't, that he's still tied into this guy, and EXE isn't happy in the sense that he's not really getting he doesn't really understand why their friendship is
The
not
full
able
situation. Yeah. Exactly.
to go back to how they were before. And so in keeping this middle ground, he's upset both sides. And I think people do that a lot with friendships. I think that's what EXE was doing to me. He was doing that infinite corridor thing where, oh, I'm and I don't know how I feel about him. The fuck? You absolutely didn't know how you feel about him, because I can see him
Yeah. Of
VIP
course.
in your chat. He's getting to the point where he's divulging personal stuff to you when he wasn't absolutely not comfortable with doing that with me. So
Right.
and you're obviously still talking to him if you're to that point where you're messaging each other back and forth. So you're not apprehensive
Of
and
course.
stop
Not at all.
trolling me. Yeah. So he's doing the infinite corridor
But
because he wants to preserve the sort of the friendship that I have with him. Not that the friendship's gonna end, but sort
sure.
of
Right.
he wants to stave off any disapproval that I would have.
Yeah.
So it's doing
Which
that infinite
I think
corridor.
preemptively, I think, but that's what it feels like, a loop where it's like, but your main critique would be that he's being dishonest with himself and others. Like, so he's like, the thing that he's like trying to stave off, the critique is generating the critique.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Like that's it. So like, there's no, it's so unfortunate, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Um, that, to me, was really surprised. what really surprised me is the sort of the acceptance that they had for a chameleon. Somebody, I'd just be
Yeah.
extremely suspicious of somebody engaging with the things that I really care about when they just had completely ignorant views. And they see it as, or at least the sense I'm getting, this is a pure conjecture on my part, but it's,
Sure, of
oh,
course.
he's back to, he rediscovered himself, he's back to who he was. But for me, it's, oh, he, from what I heard, he was kind of lonely, and so he went back to his old friends, the people that he discarded. And he sort of chameleon to their interests. He initially came in very apprehensive about the whole anime thing, but eventually just chameleoned into, he had caricature views, things that he couldn't
Caricature.
believe.
Yeah.
Complete
Things he
caricatures
would make
of,
fun of. Things he would make fun of probably in the
exactly.
past. Yeah.
And yeah, just complete caricature views on anime, and it's telling me that straight to my straight to my face with full certainty. And then he is now, oh yeah, anime, I'm writing reviews and stuff. That's what he told me. Apparently he's writing reviews for a YouTube channel. I'm just thinking,
No
what
way.
the fuck?
He's writing reviews for what? For what?
A YouTube channel, apparently.
No
I
way.
just couldn't believe that. I was
That's
aghast.
crazy.
It's insane. And so just hearing that, I'm going, how are you not suspicious of somebody communing to your interests after showing sort of fugazi arguments that he couldn't possibly believe if he introspected just a bit? If he
Just a
introspected,
little bit. Yeah, 100%.
absolutely would not fall into these caricature views. And you accept this as, oh, this is just, he's rediscovered himself, instead of, oh, he's just chameleon to whatever interest that the group has. He's basically, the hive mind NPC, whatever is in
Yep.
front of him. And that's exact, and that's actually continuity. You were talking about the continuity in terms of who Ender
Yep.
was. I think this actually shows the
Big
continuity of Ender
continuity.
as a
Big
character,
continuity. And the
because
critique we had. Yeah, 100%.
exactly, yeah, he's chameleon to
Because
sort of every
if it was
situation.
different, if like the fundamental like person would have changed in such a way where he's like, big difference from who I was kind of thing, then the chameleon wouldn't take place. Like, but again, I think it's also that there were different parts of him fighting inside of like who he was going to be post
Hmm.
like girlfriend who he thought was going to be his life. And so I think that's part of it too, is like there is still a part of him that like never went away, that did miss his friends and all that stuff. And he's like feeding into that, right? But again, the fact that you have like non-integrated selves basically that you can like go between, that like without even blinking an eye, to me that's kind of crazy. Like, to me, from saying that anime is this like kind of borderline hyper
Feminine.
gooner,
Hmm.
like just like feminine loser kind of thing, like
Hmm.
that's a pretty strong statement. That's not something I could like go back on that quickly.
Hmm.
And he went back quick. I think the speed of it is also striking.
Carl Gustav Jung would just, if you were friends with this person, this guy would, it's like a specimen to him. So, oh, come in my office, please. Let me, let me pick your brain, because this is a complete, this is a perfect person for Carl Gustav Jung to be. Oh wow, you are completely unintegrated with your
Yeah.
shadow or whatever.
Yeah.
What the fuck? You're not even at the point of considering the collective unconscious. I think,
At all.
yeah, absolutely nowhere near. It's to me it's maybe it's because I've been listening to a bunch of this is one channel. I don't know, I have to find it, but I
Okay.
think they upload videos daily. I think it might be an AI voice, but it's like a very
Okay.
deep,
So
but it doesn't sound AI to me. It's like a really deep, sort of very persuasive, suave
all right.
voice that sort of applies, I don't know, I have to find you one video, but it sort of applies a modern situation, and applies Carl Gustav Jung. So
Hell yeah.
go go on my watch later. I love it. A lot of them get repetitive, where, okay, and I've sort of heard this before.
Sure.
Hold on, let me find one. It's this channel. I found it here. Boom. I've been listening to this channel. This channel loves Carl Jung. The old Carl Jung.
Okay.
um
490. Yeah, it probably is an AI if it's 490. That they usually, you know what I mean? It probably has been going for a while. Yeah,
mhm.
117 videos. Definitely, yeah, probably legit.
um Love this channel. I love
What are some things that stood out to you? Like, what are some psychological things you're like, I didn't consider that? Or like, you know what I mean? Like, what do you?
For me, what I found really interesting was the turning point. He talked about another philosopher, and they were using this Japanese word, and it was about change, and it was sort of the rejection of change in the way we live our lives as a sedentary society. We sort of reject change. Think about like
Yeah.
Mongolian steppe tribes. They're always constantly moving. They're not digging up in one place, and we sort of live our lives as we search for stability. We try and look for a significant other that's going to be in our lives until we die. That's how we view that. Marriage is something of permanence. Friendships are meant to be permanent. But
Yeah.
this sort of philosophy was going into some things are just meant to change, and the battle of trying to not let something change is a futile battle that causes anguish. I would have to talk about yugen. It was the
Oh,
Japanese
okay.
word. I would have to find it because I found that really interesting, and I would have to re-listen to it to get the exact details. But there was
So there's violence in resisting necessary change. Like there's like because
mhm,
probably unnecessary change and necessary change. I mean, it's tough to obviously define the two, but it's like there obviously not all change is good, but like there's like violence for sure in like resisting change that's like necessary for functioning, right?
mhm.
Like stasis is kind of violence against like a person who could evolve and become better, you know?
Mhm. A lot of the videos are actually, I think, maybe a lot of the videos aren't about change, but the ones that I definitely, maybe it's just that point in my life where that's what I'm looking at, or that's really deeply that
Yeah.
resonates with me. But Carl, I think it was this video, When Life Calls, Answer It, Carl Jung, and it was about sort of get. I think it's the first time I've seen Carl Jung get into the sort of mystical, where he was saying some things just happen, and when you see them, it's your brain telling you, okay, it's time for a change. And he was talking about a patient, about I say he as if it's like him, but it was a summary of his patient, and well,
Yeah.
no, I think it was like another psychiatrist,
Okay.
and it was about locusts, and he was talking about the symbology of locusts, about like what Egyptians believed them to be, and it was something resembling change, and it was just such a weird coincidence. It was like a very specific coincidence that happened when the locusts showed up, and what they were specifically talking about, and what they saw in their dreams, and he was saying, oh, that's life, where life is trying to tell you this is change. Yeah, this is change calling at you. Everything, your dreams. There's an actual locust. Why is there a locust in wherever the fuck they are, like Switzerland or something? Why is that here?
Yeah.
This is life telling you, hey, there is change. You feel that in your bones, and you need to start being this objective, fact-seeking, sort of critiquing the way people are, sort of ruminate on the facts and look at things as very factually, and was sort of critiquing that, and was talking about some things are just, you just feel them. It's a very
Yeah, they need
intuitive
demand
thing,
action. Yeah.
and it was specifically about change, where there are just these weird coincidences that happen that indicate change, and you know it yourself, that your body has been crying out that there is a change coming, and it's for you to seize upon it and stop looking at the facts and start seizing that. And I had a lot of mixed feelings, because obviously I'm very non-spiritual atheist guy, and I'm
Right, right.
thinking, wow, that something that
That resonates.
challenges me, because I am also that person where I just feel that that zoo, leaving zoo, that was something that I felt in my bones. That was not
Yeah.
and it took an analysis for me to go, okay, now I've got an actual proof, and I didn't even have the most damning proof before I left, but it was an intrinsic feeling that I felt that I failed to capitalize on, and then I got all the sort of evidence later that, hey, I was completely right in and justified in feeling that way, and I should have seized on or maybe I should have seized on the opportunity earlier. Everything was calling out for something isn't right
Yeah.
here. You need change.
Yeah.
But I don't know if I fully agree with it, because it's still very, it's very mystical. If I was gonna steel man it, it's one of those things where your brain is noticing certain things. It's not necessarily something
Exactly.
that's
That's what I was gonna
objectively
say.
happening. Yeah.
Yes, even if you can't articulate it in like a, first principles philosophical, like I think, not listening to your brain having these larger picture understandings, you're turning off, I think, a really useful, like, warning system and a very often very accurate pattern recognition system. I think people frankly underutilize, of like trying to see the bigger picture and then kind of being like, yeah, okay, yeah, I should see how this feels. I should take action.
Hmm. So this channel, basically, listen to it every day while I'm cycling,
Epic.
and read. I would
What
have
videos
to,
do you think I should check out? Like,
I think the Yugen one. I want to find the Yugen one. That
okay,
one was crazy good. I really,
watch that.
um, if I can actually find it, multiple videos on when. Oh yeah, here we go. Alan Watts. When you stop forcing life, everything changes. I think it was that. I think that was when they talk about Yugen. I
Gotcha.
think it was Yugen. I think that
I
was
will
it.
put that in my.
Um, the ones that I like. I know I liked multiple, but I would have to listen to them a little bit and go, "Oh, okay, that's what they were
Sure.
saying." It's one of those. It's in my untapped consciousness. It's not in my
Ironic,
direct.
right?
Yeah,
In this context,
concept.
yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of ironic. Yeah.
It's in your unconscious. You know
Oh,
it's there, but you can't find the detail.
and this one actually, knowing yourself too much. That was one that I was okay. Wow.
Ooh,
Okay, that's a
too much
critique
like
on
rumination. Too much rumination
exactly.
and like,
Yeah.
yeah. How what's this video like? Like what's it saying? Because I'll watch it for sure. I'm curious about it.
I'd have to tap my memory. Hold on. Let me like skip through and see. Listen. It's like, oh, okay, that's what it was saying. So I have 5-minute video. I forget these are 5-minute videos because I've graduated to 2x at this point. I'm not
Hell yeah.
2x. I think it's
Throughout the history
2x.
of
If I'm listening to something, actually, I'll always go 1.5. But two, I have when I'm watching something, it has to be 2x. Or sometimes I think at one point I went to 3x.
That's crazy.
But it depends on the video. But I can just watch
It
3x
does.
and I'll come back to my computer. Sometimes I'll leave in the middle of the video and I'll come back to a video and pause it and I go,
Oh,
somebody would
what the
think I'm
fuck?
fucking insane if I was listening to this because because I don't go to 3x immediately. That's fucking insane. I put it on 2x and go, okay, this person has a very superfluous way of speaking. Let me up it up a little bit. Um, and then when you come back, it's one of those, it's like, I don't know if you've experienced the volume thing where sometimes you have your volume too loud and you come back and go, what the fuck? I was listening to this. It's
Yeah.
insane
I
volume.
have,
Yeah, it's
yeah.
the same thing where it's, whoa, this is really quick.
Way
3x.
faster because you get used to it, but you get used to it in the moment. I know exactly what you're saying.
Exactly.
You adapt. Yeah, 100%.
Um, but also I am that what's that meme video? I think you sent me a really long time ago. It's like that Jarko guy. I think we watched it together where it's like
Yeah, like
ants licking him, low cost
he's like
licking
listening
him.
to Chinese audiobooks of the Bible and doing fucking like
The
push-ups
Chinese
to like
keyboards. It was the Chinese keyboards, whereas I'm learning
yeah.
Chinese, and also a lot of or at least like the sort of the new wave of linguist learners, they'll say, "Oh yeah, you need to do full immersion," where you need to be you just need to go. Oh, you don't know Japanese? Fuck it. And honestly, it kind of works because that's how I've
Kind of true.
been working with Slovak, where I just go.
Mhm.
I don't know really much about this language. I'm just gonna go in and I'm gonna go point to that. I'm gonna go Choto, yeah. And then they'll tell me, and I go, oh, really? Okay. And then I'll forget it like 5 seconds later, and I go, Choto, yeah. But we've passed the thing that I was talking about, so I have to like dig in my brain and say, oh, okay, what are the fucking words for, before? I have to dig because I have some basis because some people speak English, so they can tell me, oh, yeah, that's how you say
Right,
this
right.
and that's how you say that. But being thrown in to especially if you're doing work, I think it's one of those things where I think of time optimization where I go, okay, well, I'm listening to audiobooks or just videos while I'm riding my bike, and I
Mhm.
have fairly good retention in terms of what I'm listening to. Sometimes I just have to put it on again because I'll forget, or it's one of those things where it's in my it's a latent memory and I have to dig
Yes.
it back up by re-triggering. It's like, oh, okay, I don't need to listen to this again. I know exactly what they're talking about. I just needed that memory, hit that memory point to trigger that. And I make porridge in the morning. I hoover the floor, so I don't have to do a whole, okay, it's cleaning day now, and hoover downstairs. It's just I can do that. Wash dishes in the 10 minutes my porridge is warming up. I wash my dishes and I can hoover up. It's like, oh wow, I just cleared two things. Fuck, I forgot what
Well,
this
the
was pertaining to.
optimization, you're saying optimization and kind of like,
What's that saying? Um, Hello.
hello?
I forgot what specific. Why I was referencing optimization. Oh, wow.
Okay, wait, try to go back a little bit into your stream then, right?
Fuck that. I want to figure out what this. I want to go back to what the video, the danger of knowing yourself deeply.
Yes, yes.
But all of this is a facade. Behind the elevated image, there exists a fragile, insecure ego, hungry for validation. Is not just an internal distortion, it is also an obstacle to empathy, dialogue, and code. They live in a watchtower, observing themselves all the time, trying to control every impulse, every reaction, every thought. The search for balance turns into an obsession with stability. The fear of repeating unconscious patterns prevents them from living fully, and the more they try to protect themselves from themselves.
Okay, yeah, I remember what I was talking about. I think the general sense was that obsessive rumination stunts your ability to. It's actually really weird because a lot of these videos are just about change and letting change progress. It's actually not so much as integrating your shadow. At least, yeah, a lot of them talk about integrating your shadow, but they're also about change in terms of this knowing yourself one. Seems what he's getting at least the point of the video I was at was or at least what I remember from this point in the video was when you obsessively look at yourself, you stop the ability you're stunting your ability to sort of live the outside world, and that stops your ability to change because you can't change by, well, maybe you can change by looking inwards, but looking too much inwards is that you're only operating with your own yourself. You're not operating with any sort of outside stimuli. I think that's what the video was generally getting at least that's one part I remember about it. It's
I agree
really
with that.
funny. Really
But
funny
I
how
also
they
think
could
that
change.
if you want to, and I've realized this, it's like if I want to be thinking, you have to find space to do it on your own. Like you have to, like you can't just be on your own, but the kind of generative moments where you kind of have those, moments of real understanding require some level of like concentration. And it is tough when you're, like when other people have like competing interests or they're doing other things, you know what I mean? Like it's not always like a straight shot if you're trying to actually like make progress on some set of thoughts. You have to like thinking and change. If you want that type of change, does require some level of isolation.
Oh, of course,
Because
for sure.
so it's kind of complicated. Like I think that for me, it's like I kind of avoid engaging with a lot of the world because I've realized that the parts of the world that I have engaged with often aren't serving me in ways that I value and care about, right? Like, so it's complicated. It's like you need to go out in the world to figure out what parts of the world you want to reject. I think too, also, right? Like you need to know, you need to go out in the world to like know what parts of the world aren't there for you or like helpful for you and the things you care about.
I think the trap I've sometimes found myself in is that that's what EXE getting into this trap because I went through it, so I immediately recognize this, where sort of you see everyone else as an NPC.
Yeah, 100%.
And obviously couldn't be the case, but everyone just feels like an NPC, and I still get those moments where I just, you guys NPCs, or is there something? Am I not able to engage on am I just missing a dimension where I'm just not able to engage in that? Is actually full of a bunch of stuff, and to some extent a lot of that is true. I'm just missing because I've invested, I've sort of heavily specced into. I'm a very specialized person in terms of my hobbies.
Yes.
I don't, a lot of people play Call of Duty. No one has played Call of Duty to the not many people have played Call of Duty to the extent I've played Call of Duty Zombies.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Yeah,
I feel you.
So I've minimized my interactions with other things that just didn't seem to be interesting, and how about
it does limit your horizons. It does limit your horizons to do that, though, for sure. It's like, yeah, it's like the problem of being a specialist is that you don't know what else is out there, I guess. But yeah, I think a part of the, like when people are looking at these videos, I think a lot of times they're trying to find out why things they already believed were true. Like the like like the philosophy videos, like the self-help videos, like the videos about how like there's like this kind of guy from 100 years ago who said this thing about how like your marriage is like good or bad or something. Like it's often like people go to these videos for a whole range of reasons, and I think the more general they are, the more they hit with people. And I haven't seen this video, this video, so I'm not talking about this video, but I just mean like the kind of the philosophy videos that I've seen. They're
Mhm.
often about essentially taking individual action. Like it's fascinating because they often don't argue that you should be thinking or spending a lot of time doing philosophy. They argue that you should take the philosophy that they've given you and use it to go out in the world and do things you probably already going to do, right? So I think that's kind of interesting too, where it's like you would think that the philosophy video would be the place where everyone's saying it's okay not to go so fast in the world. It's okay to take time to think for yourself and pull back. But it's
Mhm.
not, because that's actually not right. It's a lot of it's self help for dealing with the world and not like reflective thinking for changing your existence in it. It's dealing. It's not changing. It's you know.
Interesting. Um, I think, especially for the self-help stuff, a lot of them are a lot of them are about individual action in the sense that, yeah, go out and do something. Um, he has one on slowing the pace.
Okay.
Actually, you just triggered one of my memory. Let me try and see which one it is. The
You're getting
fact that
triggered like crazy today now.
yeah, I'm so triggered right now.
Getting fucking triggered.
It was, maybe it was a repressed stress one. I don't know if it was oh, the empaths one. Now I'm actually starting to remember them now that I'm looking
Oh,
at
yeah,
them.
okay.
The empaths one. He was talking about sort of people that are very acutely aware of people's emotions might have also had to regulate, or may have been in a household where they had to regulate a unstable adult, and so
Yeah.
their survival was based um on understanding somebody else's emotions, and so
Yeah,
they can
anticipating their
exactly.
emotions, like yeah,
Hmm.
getting out of the
Um,
way or apologizing or whatever.
yeah, that was that was the 6 days ago. Empath carries all. That was, yeah, that one was
That's not really good.
that one was awesome. Well, not awesome, but so something that I didn't really relate to, but
Sure.
that was an interesting sort of hypothesis. It was somebody that would be acutely aware of emotions would also be, it would sort of have to be stimulated in some sense, and that makes sense that it would be stimulated in a way, or pushed out or cultivated in an environment where you have a very unstable adult that you just have to anticipate the emotions of, otherwise your survival is at cost,
Yeah,
um,
at little
or
risk.
a risk, yeah.
100%.
So um,
It's sad to realize that like some of the nicest people were treated awful for and the reason they're so considerate is that they like had to become that way. It is really sad to realize that, I think.
yeah, that's super sucks. I still, that empath stuff is really new to me. Where I know
Okay.
people reference it in terms of a meme, but I only got it packaged in a meme. I didn't live the initial cycle of, oh, people are actually calling themselves empaths. They're just completely on the other side of the internet from me, where I'm just not interacting with people that get high off of, oh wow,
Yeah,
I'm
talk about
so
this.
empathetic, and so I hear the
I'm such
memes
an
about it.
empath.
Um,
Yeah.
but I wanted to talk about something, and it was the, I don't know. It was about women, and I've
Okay.
heard this claim from this Norse, old Norse history channel, where he was doing a video of his wife, and it was from like sort of
Oh
the
yeah.
future progress of the English language. And at the end, he mentioned, yeah, women are sort of the, I think it was like majority. It was either the article or he said it, where they're sort of like the majority contributors, and it is to the point where men can be, a generation behind in terms of, the speech that they're using,
Makes total sense to me.
um and for me that's really really confusing. I don't understand that at all, in terms of um women are that influential it was specifically young women that are really that
Yeah.
influential in terms of forming the way we speak. I don't know if I
Yes.
see that. I'm really curious.
Yeah.
Tell
Well,
me.
why do they argue that was the case? Because for me, I'm thinking, well, yeah, that makes sense because the way that guys change themselves to get pussy is crazy. So
Hmm.
that's one thing. Like guys would be so willing to adopt lines of thinking, thought processes, all sort of stuff like that. because it's like, damn, this is what
What
I
he
need to
said.
do and
Funny
think.
thing. That was
Um,
so funny.
that's part of
That's what
it.
he said. Yeah.
But I would also say the second part of it is that they are often absent from regulated social structures. So their lack of being in an office space where everyone kind of conforms to the same set of expectations and expressions and become larger like parts of communities. They're part of communities where they can be more open and kind of playful with language, and in fact maybe even benefit from being like, kind of unique and kind of standing out in their language. Whereas guys might be kind of punished by them. That might actually be something that they're punished by for kind of, like when my grandpa was in the 50s, he had to quit a job because they didn't let him have a mustache at this computer, like at IBM. So they're like, if you have a mustache, you can't work here, right? So like just historically speaking, because what we're talking about when we talk about like women are like the progenitors of culture, we're talking about a historical claim that's based on a certain set of job circumstances and like social structures. It might not be the case that they're like as influential now, but I would say that there's probably larger forces that are more influential, like algorithms and like, like the way like social media trends are moderated and structured. But in terms of like speech patterns and slang and kind of being on the cutting edge and being kind of like more generative and new, definitely it seems like women are in kind of minorities, or they tend to be, just because like they have such a lower like ability to, but also tendency to conform. Like they just aren't as neat, like society doesn't have the pressure on them to conform as much in the sense of you should be like everyone else. It's more like you're ostracized, so you should make your own shit kind of thing. I think historically, and then
Do you think
or you're
it's
just not in a workplace.
also the case of exclusivity in the in-group where you notice who's in your in-group by the lingo they talk? If somebody says something is OD, I already know what
Yeah, of
communities
course.
that they're a
Yeah,
part of.
exactly.
See, for me, it was really
That's why
curious
gay people are
because
also on the cutting edge too, because they have to like signal subtly like they're a gayness or not. So that's another thing. It's like, or
you said gamer,
like a
I'm
lot.
thinking, yeah, I totally agree
No,
with
gay
that.
net, like gay, like
Gay,
queer
yeah,
people
gay,
are
yeah,
like,
yeah.
and like black women too, and like I remember this like one woman telling me about this, but like they're often on the kind of cutting edge because it's like, they're kind of outside of institutions that would like train them otherwise, kind of, if that, like, it's almost like they have the space mentally and like a day-to-day perspective to have different kind of ways of thinking of things and engaging with things, and like they're the culture. Like women are like the cultural consumers. They're the ones spending the money on the culture. They're the ones kind of picking out what to eat and what to read and all that stuff, and guys are much more work focused usually.
Interesting.
I think.
I wonder how gamers come into this. I have to talk about gamers because
100%.
I exist in gamer spaces, and the lingo is very acutely gamer in terms of there are just going to be references, and there are even general references that are going to be made. If you say a tier list 20 gamer, everyone knows, and it's to the point where it's expanded out. I think that's a fighting game thing, and I was thinking about this too, where I don't know if you know, but the sort of the tier list template websites, these
Yeah.
are the I think these came from like Japan. This is why S is number one, because they don't have the same ABCD system. That's why super.
I've always wondered that.
S is super. I'm pretty sure that's
I've
like
actually always wondered that. That's so funny.
Fighting game community.
Well, that makes
I
total
could be
sense
wrong.
because in Naruto, S rank is like top rank, right? So like that also makes sense, and from that, like that's definitely a Japanese thing in that sense. So
Is it? I don't even remember, but
yeah,
yeah, that's
S rank missions are top missions.
right. And so yeah, I'm pretty sure S stands for super, and that's a whole Japanese thing. But if you know what the early tier list would look like, I think you'd be really disappointed with the direction that tier list went in. And I think the last tier list I made for zombies, I actually went into Photoshop and made it akin to some of these tier lists. Where tier lists now are sort of made, it really sucks. It's because website creation is just so easy nowadays too, and now people just follow the sort of the main template website, where you have people that are not even in fighting games. They're using there's probably not even a fighting game website where people are using this website, where it's probably the most bare bones version of a tier list. And back in Street Fighter 4, so this is 2009 to 2015, you had people making multi-axis tier lists. There's like a standard.
Whoa.
Standard. So if you
I love that. That's what it should be. It should be multi-axis.
Exactly. If you type in, hold on, let me go on Google. But if you go on and type in like Street Fighter 4 tier list, and if you get like the old tier list, not the ones that are made, you can actually find some of them. The ones that are older, you will see that they are multi-axis, and you can see well-rounded has faults. Low-tier, the newer ones are actually in this format of the sort of the tier maker format where it's just one axis. But the older ones were actually more advanced, and you could change what
That's
the
so funny.
axis had. It was called Cafe Tier Chart Maker. So
Oh
it
my
was
god.
dumbed down.
Wow. I didn't even
And
know that.
yeah.
No, there's a total other world where we're doing way more interesting tier lists.
Exactly. And
Whoa.
instead, we have this sort of inferior tier list that just the
Higher,
one that
lower.
got just higher or lower or one axis that exists, and it's not an axis that you can even name. And it comes with a lot of people in fighting games always argue, like, why is this character here? And it's just nobody has even defined the axis. They've just posted a tier
No.
list, and you haven't watched the video, so how could you possibly know? There is no way of knowing, and it's built like that, which sucks because you have that ambiguity. You have these weird sort of pointless arguments where people assume what the tier list is, like it's an objective thing and not somebody's thoughts on something, and they're trying to judge one thing. But yeah, on this old tier maker, you could actually say what each axis meant. That was really cool. So some people do like matchup tier lists. It's very obvious it's a matchup tier list because they will name the axis what they're judging the tier list off of, and each axis
Right,
off
of
of.
course.
And so when it comes
And that gives you
to
so much more individuation and like interesting analysis, right? Like
exactly.
you're not just able to say like you're able to say like, oh, this is in relation to this other thing.
Exactly. And so, but when you add two axes, I think it fundamentally changes how you look at tier lists because people just say tier list, they don't even mention the criteria, and that
Yep.
means that they sort of view it as this is the only way to look at a tier list out of all these things. This is the only way to look at it. It's not, oh wait, you actually have to name your axis. The website makes you name what each axis, and when you have multiple axes, you're sort of giving credence to the fact that there are multiple ways to judge different things, and you can judge them in relation to each other, and so it makes people make tier lists based on something different other than
Yep.
oh, this is just objective fact totally, or this is what I like more, way more interesting. So we lost that in terms of Dallas culture going mainstream, but that is something where S tier, I think that's something that at least will be recognized by many people.
Yeah,
And that
100%.
is,
Well, if you say S tier, people know exactly what that means.
yeah. And that's a gamer thing. That comes from like
True.
Japanese gamers. And when it I'm just wondering, what other lingo has exited out of
I mean,
game vernacular.
especially in terms of because yeah, the tier list thing that's a good example. I think if you want to think about like what types of concepts and terms have really had major modern import that come from gamer spaces online, like you got to be thinking about the Chad and like women dating concepts where like a lot of like 4chan lingo of like Chad, incel, all that
Oh
stuff,
yeah,
like
that's
that
true.
is just like those concepts come directly from 4chan and like those are pretty mainstream. Like the idea of like someone being like a Chad and having a big jaw and all that, like that's a known thing. And it's funny because the original meaning of the Chad was a person who's like brain is like so small but their like dick is massive and like they're basically retarded, like they're but they like are so like they're just fucking constantly, so they're awesome in that sense, but they're like
Mm-hmm.
actually in every other sense like almost mentally disabled. Like they're
That's
not
so
meant
funny.
to be a purely aspirational character. But
Mm-hmm.
now they've become a purely aspirational character because everyone just, wants to be. So like there's a bunch of things like this. I think if you really started thinking about it,
Chat
that would
room
be
culture is something very evident.
very,
That's
very gamer.
yeah, that's or at least like gamer adjacent. That's definitely stepped into the mainstream, and that's what really confused me is that because a lot of the sort of dork chat that came from these message boards or just gamer communities. I wonder how that's being recognized. Is that being seen? Because maybe I'm just diminishing the other impacts on language that I've just never considered. That women and minorities would you call it, contribute to. Maybe it's not even slang, but just, the way, one example, and this is the only real good example I got, which was the word like, in terms of using it as a filler word. I don't know about the quotative. The quotative apparently was where they were like, blah, 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 that quotative.
Yeah.
That's apparently that's fairly old now in terms of, like 1960s, this guy was saying. But the article where it was saying something about women leading the innovation, so I clicked up because they were referencing something, and there was another article and they were saying the word like as a filler came from women, and it's funny because that's one of my least favorite
Hey,
things.
you're like, fuck this, dude.
Fuck
You're like,
this.
these bitches are important dog shit language, bro. This is awful.
Exactly, yeah.
Well, I mean, I think the entire way people consider the dating market and how, because I mean, historically speaking, women are the selectors of the next mates. And I think from that perspective, their impact, again, we're talking about young women. When they say, especially young women, it's like, that's such a weird coincidence. Young women are also the ones deciding which guys they want to reproduce with. Like, so I think those women have an outsized impact because they're so desired by so much of the society. And so what they want, what they care about, what they're interested in, guys will just conform to. It's just so it's so instant and so consistent. There's actually a whole thing right now called performative male contests in New York, where guys are showing up like ironically dressing in a way that is as like fake and performative as possible. So they're like holding like girly books that like they're pretending to read. They're like wearing like sweaters and shirts of like, girl bands that they don't really like, but would like, by wearing it, like girls would like them, like all these kind of meta
Is it done
critiques of
in
guys.
jest, or is it
Yeah, it's done in
actually?
jest. It's done in jest, but it's done to make fun of the people who actually do that, who are like they're like clearly and transparently putting
I'm
on a
saying, is it
face.
meta? Is it meta where it's
Yeah,
now they see the cultural capital being making fun out of this, and so they're doing the thing of they're chasing it by making fun of that? That's what I'm saying. Is that
oh,
really
that's actually
meta?
a really good question. That's okay. That's fucking. I didn't even think about that. I know exactly. Okay. I get you could say that for sure, but I think either way, yeah, that is very good because that wasn't what I was going for. But I see your point there on that. That is what they're doing. But again, I think that reaffirms what I'm saying about how well even when it's a trend making fun of guys being performative, guys will be willing to come out and perform because it's a trend where there's gonna be a lot of women and it's a women focused thing, right? So because it's also women who started this meme of the performative male. Um,
Mhm.
and so that's right, so it's this kind of like it's just like, yeah, it is circular where they're just showing up and ironically doing something but actually doing the thing kind of almost,
Mhm.
but it's done to meta commentate on the fact that guys are like just so willing to do whatever it takes to get whatever they need, like in that sense.
That's so sad because just one name just keeps coming up, yeah, in my head. Just five-letter word that keeps coming in my head, and so true. It's so true. I hate the chameleoning effect, or the performance. I think that's probably why I suck at talking to people, because I don't to some extent you need to have some sort of performance. I just suck at performing for people because yeah, maybe I should drop the attitude in terms of well, no, I definitely won't completely drop the attitude, but it's more in terms of I can and have to sacrifice my whole identity to be, this like really blunt cunt, where sometimes I just
Blunt.
kind of maybe I'm kind of just like really cold and distant, and I'll just say, yeah, that was really fucking bad, by the way. But also, oh,
That's
it
dog
was actually
shit.
really funny. Yeah, when I would try my family's food, they'll go, "Oh, how is it?" And I'll take like 2 spoons at that point. I'm going, "Hold on, I've barely tried this."
Like,
It was really weird because it was a character quirk rather than, oh, that's just, oh, you should wait and consider the food that you're eating. The aftertaste. You get into the bottom of the meal because the consistency in terms of the flavor changes depending on how well it's mixed and blah blah blah. So I consider the whole thing. And For that to be something that they went, oh wow, that's really weird. That yeah, it's something that they make fun out of lightly, in jest, in terms of, wow, hold on, he guys, he needs to wait. I found that really strange because isn't that how you should be engaging with things? And you should weigh and
Like seriously and
consider.
authentically good, yeah, in like a real
Mhm.
way. Like, because for me, that's my problem. It's like I'm so bad at accepting compliments, anyways. Like, I always just assume it's like coming from a performative place. And so, if I was to
Mhm.
see someone say my food is good without even trying it, I would be like, oh, I don't even want to ask them ever again what they think of my thing because I don't trust them. Like, I think to me, it's like,
Exactly.
yeah, I think
And
we might be autistic though. I don't know.
I
I'm not even.
I,
I'm barely joking when I say that. Just to say
I'm
for
already
both.
diagnosed. It's fine.
Oh, it's
So,
funny.
yeah, I was diagnosed as a kid. So, um,
Gotcha. Well, I mean, that makes sense then. That's what I'm saying for both of us. I mean, I might have that. Maybe it's an ADHD thing 'cause I got that, So
okay.
I think it's a neurodivergent thing. I think it's a like straight up. I think that's what it. I think that's what the neurodivergent is like.
Looking at normal people, I say normal people, but on the spectrum. I mean, off the off the spectrum.
Yeah, down
People
their
are
own
looking
spectrum.
at them a little bit different. Where I couldn't, I really couldn't trust someone that just went, oh wow, that's really nice, and they didn't consider the
Yeah,
whole thing. It was really disingenuous. I have to tell my mom that you have to be very specific with your compliments because I just don't believe, I simply cannot believe somebody complimenting me on something very vague in general that they may not fully understand. It's just you trying to make me feel good, and I don't like that performance because when you get a compliment and it's something that you've worked hard on, it's something that it's not only just something that you find rewarding that somebody noticed the same things that you noticed or had, half the appreciation you did for something, but it's just good material for you to good input for you to get. If I wrote something, right, for example, right, some book author, and then I wrote something, and then somebody gives me a compliment where they go talk about very specific things. It's something that's somewhat comprehensive. For
right.
me, that's good feedback because I can take that further in terms of it doesn't just serve the purpose of congealing the friendship, but it's also something that serves me outside of that fact. And that's compliments for me are a handshake in terms of it needs to be something that you care about for you to look at me for. So you can't go, oh wow, my mom, comes in and goes, wow, congratulations on, whatever, video game that you played or something. Is You don't understand anything about this. Why would you ever say anything, right?
Yeah,
You have never showed any interest in video games. You don't care about this. So the compliment is one-sided in terms of I care about the video games, but you don't. But if it's the other way around, where let's say you care about something and I don't. So let's say I go, oh, nice ass. That's a nice fat ass too. It's just some girl. So like, she doesn't know
yeah.
me, and maybe she doesn't even really, maybe she cares about that part of herself, but maybe not in the context of somebody, walking past
Can't walk out
past
through
her.
randomly. Yeah,
Yeah, exactly. And so that's also inappropriate. You failed the handshake. It's one hand coming out, and the other one is staying really reserved right in the pocket. So it's the case that you need to have somebody cares about something, and then and there's just one layer to it. That's just only the handshake.
absolutely.
It also needs to be, but that makes it more genuine when I know somebody cared about something, and then they also recognize that I care about something, and so we can complement. It's the handshake
It's
thing. I
real.
think, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly, and I think
And because for me,
that's
it's also like it's like if there's not stakes, because okay, so it's like, could I have made something bad? Like,
uh,
is it possible that I could have made something that they would have said is bad? And if I don't even see that, I'm like actually more angry than anything. Like, and I think
exactly.
like neurotypical people, I don't, weird terms. I'm like kind of sus of these categories, but whatever. Like neurotypical, they definitely exist for a reason. But neurotypical people, like they seem when they're trying to ask about something to be trying to get validation for something they already were going to do or already did. Right? It's like but
Mhm.
for me, I'm often talking about like long running projects or things that I care about at a larger level than just like like, am I good or bad at this? Like, am I happy or sad at this? Does this make me smile or does this make me frown? It's more like I'm committed to this in like a long term sense. And if I'm getting kind of bullshit feedback, I feel like you're undermining my project. Basically, I feel like
There's a
you're
mass.
making me think something is like better than it is in a way that makes me more complacent and less likely to push myself. Because if I'm getting
Mhm.
negative feedback, that pushes me, and if I'm getting positive feedback that's good, that's pushing me. But if I'm getting bullshit, like pandering, I'm getting like sad that no one will even care if I make something good.
Mhm. Yeah, I think that complacency part is it's the lack of stakes where you can trick somebody into complacency, where if you don't recognize that, oh, there is no stakes, there are no stakes, and whatever you're saying, you would have just said, oh, that's good regardless, or said something else that's nice about it, found some, silver lining. That's that if you don't recognize that, yeah, that will breed complacency if you're actually looking at that compliment as some sort of valuable feedback. And yeah, I think that sucks, and I don't enjoy that about the I guess a lot of people compliment like this, and I don't enjoy that. That sucks, and they should change. They really should change. The compliment handshake that should be in citizenship. We call it citizenship. It's just
civics or whatever.
Right. Guess that's what you call it. That should
I didn't go, but
what'd you say?
I didn't take that class, but yeah, I guess that is what we call it.
Right. Yeah, that should be something that's taught. As well as Carl Gustav Jung, I think he should be taught.
Oh yeah.
Actually, I could see him being taught in RE, or if I brought him up and I described what it was, we would definitely be talking about it, because RE is a religious education, and it's a subject that it looks so long. Long means just annoying and time consuming. Fine. It just looks so long, and everyone enjoyed it. Everyone just has good experiences. At least in my school, with the teachers I had, everyone just had a good experience with RE every single year. That people that you wouldn't think would take it, they took it for their GCSE year and 4 years, and it's basically just it's a very general subject in terms of, we get into religious stuff in terms of learning about different religions, but I can't even remember any really much about learning about religions. We talk about cults. We would just be like, okay, here's this documentary of this cult, and then you'd be watching it attentively, and because it's just a very interesting documentary about something that's very interesting. It's everyone just has an opinion about it, and it's, oh hey, you have an opinion about it, fucking write it down. We're going to give you a framework on how to form the argument, and we're going to make you also consider other people's point of view by you having to also consider somebody else's argument, and also we're going to make you also argue in class about this. What?
I love that.
This is the best subject ever.
So, yeah,
it's I don't think there was there were I think geography was also just, I think, acutely me, but I think there was something very human about RE that everyone convened on RE, where I'm actually really excited to learn. Every time I come into this lesson, I'm very excited to learn. I never took RE, but for GCSE, but
But your experience was so positive, and other people you knew were so positive. Yeah.
Yeah. Basically, the whole class was very, I really miss RE. That was really sick. I really enjoyed that. It was always this. It was just you talking about your experience with something, and then it put it in this argumentative framework where you actually had to argue out, and then when you argue out about something, you're constantly interfacing with exactly what you were. Because you're constantly like drawing back into your memory and interfacing with that, you're basically get a better understanding. Someone that watched something once, right, and then never talked about it ever again. You're gonna forget about all of that. That's why I say, now you're with this Carl Jung stuff. I'm recalling my memories now, and now that's gonna be it's gonna reinforce better. But also, I have to think of a line of argument in terms of what I think about it, and then justify it.
Right, which itself requires cognitive load and like all that stuff, right? It's like you're taxing yourself in a way that is like super generative, because now you don't only remember the things that you like learned, you're now learning and integrating those memories into new frameworks too. So it's like, and then it's like a circle. It like spins back around. It's like recursion. It's like as you go through the process of thinking about your new questions, you then generate new understandings, new memories, new insights that then kind of filter back. So if you keep that going, that cycle going, it's like the best thing in the world. Like, it's amazing. It's like what I do all day. It's like recursion and like
That's awesome. And
it's so fun.
You would definitely enjoy RE then.
I would have loved it, dude.
Yeah, absolutely not. Yeah, you just think it's going to be about, oh yeah, we're just going to learn about, oh, the pillars of Islam and
Right.
Christianity and Judaism and Shintoism and all this shit. It's like, oh yeah, this like cool cult was doing stuff, and let's talk about this Mormon cult with a bunch of women, and it's like, whoa, okay, and we have to talk about like gender dynamics in terms of these cults are
Yeah.
kind of always going this direction. What is that?
Like the
What's
sex
what's
domination
happening?
cults.
Yeah,
Always going to
exactly.
yeah, the sexual domination cults, yeah.
Yeah, and it's
Every
just,
time. Yeah.
and it's just like, whoa, what's your
Why is that?
opinion about it? Wow,
Yeah.
that's so awesome because it's actually it's not big. I feel when you talk about Christianity, you're not actually interfacing with a religion, but when or at least you're not necessarily interfacing with with sort of the religious aspect of humanity. But when you talk about these
Yeah.
cults, right, there's way more of a platform for you to interface with, like what makes people believe something. Because for some reason, there's this weird reverence with, you can't really, you
I so
can't
agree.
really investigate, why people would believe bullshit because all these religions are bullshit to me.
Yeah,
Um,
same.
and so they do it they have you sort of interface through those questions by attacking something that's permissible to attack, which is these cults. And so it's, whoa,
So
this is
smart.
so, yeah, right, it's so
It
awesome
really is.
because parents wouldn't be, oh yeah, it's this cult, yeah, fuck that cult, but it's actually really making you question sort of very sort of religious control. I think a lot of it was about religious control in terms of these people would, they fully believe in their stuff, and you'd go, wow, they're insane. Couldn't you apply it to, people who weren't really Christian, but there was this one person, one of my friends actually, was a really close friend of mine, and he was unapologetically Christian, and he would get, upset about, when I'd say, yeah, this just doesn't exist. And of course, I'm just very young and argumentative, and so I'm going, yeah, this
Of course.
doesn't exist, and they're gonna fucking argue it out. I think I was really flustered about that. And I'm just thinking, how the fuck does this guy not see what I'm seeing? Where this is, clearly related to
Yeah.
just Christianity in general. I mean, these are like these are directly Christianity sort of branches. If we're talking about like Mormon cults, right? It's direct. They claim that they are.
Yeah. The next like the true heirs to Christ. Like they 100% claim that. Like they
Yeah.
claim that their prophet found the next word of God that was buried for thousands of years. And like it, I mean, they do claim that literally, like,
Mm-hmm.
But again,
So
it's like, well, what did Christianity claim? They claim to be a sect of essentially, the Old Testament Judaism, because that gives them legitimation of a previous framework that people understood, right? And like so it's also interesting to realize that, like, well, the Christianity was doing the same strats to get itself like legitimized in a context where they weren't, like the Romans hated them, they thought they were heretics, like they were, attacked pretty viciously and blamed for a lot of social problems because but they had to like claim legitimacy, so they would like ground themselves in like kind of Judaism and like.
mm-hmm. And for me, it was very obvious to make the connection, but to see him make all these critiques that I would just make to his religion in general, and
Yep.
for him not to see it and just going, what? You're not even like considering this. But one of my other friends, Ethan, I felt kind of bad about this at the time, but I made him question his religious beliefs, where he grew
Good.
up in a religious household. And for me, it's I'm always just, yeah, that religion shit's kind of bullshit, right? This is so, wait, you don't believe that? But he would actually investigate it. That was the thing, is he was actually very, very open to investigating it, because we just love talking about just investigating stuff in general. So he's actually questioning his religion. It's so funny, but also
That's
that's
so
cool.
funny.
You should be questioning it. What the fuck? Why are you not questioning this stuff? Because
100%.
for me it's I that my earliest memories of growing up with my grandparents. And then when I moved back to the UK, it was when I was 5 when I found out the Tooth Fairy wasn't real. I was already asking questions about that as a kid. Is there a dog a god? How come the God
Yeah.
is a how come God is a human? The Christian God.
Yeah, what is up with that?
Yeah, why are they a man, and why are they white? Did I come from them? Um, and I'm just I'm asking all these questions, and just the response from my mom
To shut you
was
down,
really,
yeah.
just really, yeah, kind of not really shut me down. She wasn't, oh wow, don't talk about this, but she was saying, I don't fucking know. Um, It was either that was like the lightest response should get, or should go, nah, what the fuck? This totally makes sense. You just not understanding
Yeah,
it. And I'm
right.
going, this doesn't make any fucking sense. What the fuck are you talking
Yeah.
about? And so it was when I found out the Tooth Fairy wasn't real because I asked for Transformers, and the Tooth Fairy know what Transformers are. She's giving stuff to, you know, all these other kids, but then I get these, you know, fake Poundland, you know, toys, and I'm going, Transformers. What the
Wait a
fuck?
minute. You're like, I was pretty clear about
I
the
thought you were gonna
fucking
say something.
Transformers,
Yeah, I
dude.
was
You knew
very clear
exactly what I'm
about that.
saying. You're like,
And
are
then
you my enemy now? Am I gonna fucking trap the Tooth Fairy next time and fucking jump him? Like, get the fuck-
right, but it was hastily stuffed in, and I knew that
Sure.
wasn't there when I came home, and my mom must have stuffed it in there when I went into the other room, and I'm going, okay, this is all fugazi. That's unfortunate. And then for me, it was, well, all these questions about God were also really unsatisfying. Wouldn't you? Aren't they also trolling about Santa Claus and all these other things? So that was when I was
Sure, yeah.
5 or 6, and so I
Yeah, so
already
when I was
stopped
too,
believing in
it
that.
was,
But
yeah.
other people not going through the same investigation of, you just don't question this shit. To me, that was really perplexing. But I didn't have my mom just really didn't. She is a fucking heretic, 100%. The fuck, she's gone all sorts of places with her religion. But that was like later on when I was sort of very convinced that this is all real. But also, I didn't believe in a lot of stuff.
Sure.
That stuff actually really confused me as a kid because I was going, oh, this Roman and Celt stuff, like this is not real. This is all just like story shit that they're telling us kids. I thought I was like really enlightened
You
as a
probably when you thought
kid.
the Romans were fake because of the Tooth
Yeah,
Fairy. That's
shit.
funny. That's actually so fair though. Like because and I was gonna mention this point. Like I think the thing that's going on here is that there's a problem with like neurotypical people where they don't have like an integrated framework that they're thinking about all the time. Like for me, it's like I have a pretty good memory, but it's also that I'm like thinking about a set of things almost constantly. And so I notice how well, like when there's a connection to be made, it's like there for me because it's always there. So like if someone's telling me Santa is real, that doesn't just like go away when I'm not around Christmas. I remember when I was like 5, like I was like trying to get a girl to like give me her fucking to like stop pushing me off this like swing set. And I was trying to tell her, I'm like, Santa's gonna be so pissed at you, right? And it's like July, right? She's not listening to me. And I'm like, how is she not getting that this is a year-round thing?
That's
You
so
know?
crazy.
I'm like, how is she not get? Because well, from my perspective, I'm like, this is totally real. I'm like, or
Right.
like when I was younger, and I was like, and I felt like excluded by my friends when I was like 6. I was like, I was like, well, they're gonna get fucking nothing for Christmas. I was like so convinced that Santa would have my back on this one. You know what I mean? That I
That's
was
so,
like, Santa was gonna be vengeful and like like give them shit for Christmas and stuff.
so
But
awesome. But of course,
but
it
that's
never
like,
goes
you
like
know,
that.
something when I'm not. But then when I'm finding out, it's like the same thing though. And it's like when I'm finding out the population of the world, which is what made me realize that Santa wasn't real, I'm like, that comes to my mind, right? I'm like, wait, so Santa is, wait, how could he go to that
Mhm.
doesn't wait, how is that possible, right? Like is he just skipping countries? Like what's happening here? And so then I asked my parents, they told me. But it's like both the fact that I thought it was real in those other contexts, and then the fact that I figured out it wasn't because of another context. That's exactly, I think, common for people with ADHD and autism. Is like you're thinking of things like continuously and wholly, and so when something comes up that challenges your framework, it like shows up to you. Whereas if you're thinking about like I was talking to a friend who was religious when I was younger, and I went through a lot of health problems when I was younger. Obviously still have some of them, but not as bad when I was younger. And but he was basically explaining to me how like God has a plan for everyone, right? And I was trying to tell him like, well, whatever plan he has for me fucking sucks, you know?
Mhm.
And he just wasn't getting the fact that he's implying that God planned for me to have medical disorders in some way. And that's like in some way a good thing. He's like, well, you don't know God's larger plan. I'm like, yeah, I don't, so I don't trust it. Like I don't, like right? It's like
Yeah.
it sucks so far. It sucked so far. Like, what are we talking right now? But for him, the idea of the fact that I have this kind of medical condition and the fact that there's a God that exists that plans things and there's the reason for everything, these are separate thoughts in his head. These are not the same kind of like challenging paradigm. These are not like, oh, well, one calls into question the other. Like the fact that one of your good friends is like was born to like have a lot of suffering in their life, that's not considered like, well, then what the fuck is God doing? Like that wasn't even like, he didn't put those were separate to him. There's the fact of religion and God and reality, and then there's a separate fact, which is that me as a friend has these issues and stuff like that. These are not connected in his mind. And so we didn't know and understand immediately how like offensive it would be to someone who's like has chronic health conditions to be told, well, almost like God is planning everything and that there's a purpose for it. I'm like, explain to me the purpose of it, because it gets personal at that point, right? It's like you're saying there's a purpose to my suffering. Explain it. If you can't, well, then how are you going to invoke God and as just like this abstract entity? Like, what am I getting from just being like, well, God said so? If it, and if you can't explain it, right? So I think that's the problem too, is that people just aren't integrating things. They're not on the lookout for other things because they're not looking for things like as a whole. They're not like, oh, how does that challenge this other thing I've been thinking about? They're just thinking of them separately. Like the fact of Santa is like a fact separate from the population of the world.
So interesting.
Like I think for a lot of like normal people, I think like that's like whereas I think people with autism, the whole thing is that they want to build a totally coherent world framework with kind of full continuity. And the more structured and accurate the picture is, the more stability and safety we or they feel like. So that kind of fact of needing to construct a consistent worldview is why people are with autism, especially lower functioning ones, are so, they do like detail oriented, like small projects where they can kind of live in this very detail oriented specific world, like, trains and stuff like that and engineering and stuff. But then if you get more philosophical with it and you're on the, higher functioning end, you're going to be, trying to build coherent mental frameworks and kind of bigger picture frameworks. And that's what the most original thinkers do. Like, Carl Jung is like, he's developing an entire separate framework of understanding human reality that has ever existed before. Like different names, different figures, different like metaphors, different conceptualizations of different concepts. Like he felt that there wasn't a framework that existed before that he could actually make the world make sense out of. So he had to make his own entire framework, So I think there's also power to that, we shouldn't underestimate how powerful it is to be constantly thinking about things and like recursively examining and questioning when things pop up in our world.
I think at least this was my assumption for experts when it comes to when you're an expert in a field. I think creating your own framework or at least your own lingo to describe things, I think has to be a must in terms to operate with the pre-existing. I think a lot of just pre-existing terminology just sucks. I mean, you just look at zombies and how I can't really think of an example, but there will be, you just have to create new terms because there will just come a point very early on when you're talking on you can't just call trade strat, or you go, oh, this is how you trade, MP40. It's, well, there are so many factors into this. We have to call this like MP40, number of hits, number of traps, and then also, okay, that's depending on this. And you have to create, to efficiently talk about that with somebody else. Let's say you're talking to somebody else quite frequently about it, you have to sort of just create a bunch of different names for these different variations of that box strat, because there are many permutations. And that has to be just the case with other different things that exist in the world, where there are just really let's say with autism, right? It's such a wide, there are so many different
variations and like tendencies.
Of it.
Yeah, 100%. That's what the spectrum is. It's not a linear spectrum. It's not a single axis spectrum, right? It's not a flat. It's not more or higher functioning. It's very complicated in terms of how it manifests. And ADHD is technically connected to autism in that sense, but I don't know.
Another puzzle piece. That's nice. But yeah, even for autism, in terms of the way it's described, does anyone even really know? I don't even really know higher functioning, lower functioning. I don't even know I'm not even really familiar with the spectrum. I got diagnosed so long ago, and I sort of when I remember when I was in school, sort of I really hate this too. People would be really cryptic about it. Like the people that are sort of assessing me were really cryptic about it, isn't just out in the open in terms of what they're doing. And that freaked me out as a kid. And so I was really upset. I told my mom, just like, stop sending these, make sure these people don't talk to me. And it was really distressing me out. And so really just not tapped into, I don't really understand, so I don't know what spectrum or how they diagnosed me, because it was so long ago, and I was just never. It was something that I rejected in terms of it's not something that I'm talking about with people or anything like that.
The only reason it came to my mind is that so 2 days ago, my dad's friend Taylor, who's this like upright bass player, he's going to top like music school. He has something called synesthesia, which is where sounds are correlated with colors and it's a product of the autism spectrum. Where for him, he doesn't just hear sounds; he hears and understands them as color patterns. And so that is one of the most unique things I've ever encountered. So whenever I'm talking about like the experience of being autistic and stuff. And I just kind of realized that a lot of what he says about his experiences of like desiring authenticity, of feeling like you have a memory that is better and kind of pays more attention to details than other people, and that there's a sense in which you care more about the things that you do care about than other people care about the things they say they care about, like, or that there's a sense of kind of the need to mask socially and not be able to be your true authentic self in a normal situation, and how you have to kind of hold yourself back and all these other things I felt very much resonated with my experience. But that's one of those things where it's like, I was never diagnosed with that. I've been to literally a billion doctors, not literally, right? But I mean, for the
Wow,
autists out there,
the
but
population then it's not really working
literally
out.
a billion doctors, right? But literally, probably I would say over 130, right? So
What?
I've never been diagnosed with so like major health problems, like so. I would say that not. I haven't been diagnosed with autism, but when I went to see a psychiatrist when I was like in 6th grade, like she's like, this kid is like the worst ADHD I've ever seen. Like so, because I was like climbing all over the couch. I was like trying, like, oh, what's this? I wasn't even like answer the question. I was like, oh, what's going on here? I was just like just zoning out constantly, like, and like yeah. So I was also super sus of tests. Like I didn't, not only did I not try, but like I was like trying to like fake like eye vision tests because I was scared of getting glasses, because I was like, what does it mean like if they think I can't see? Like I was like so scared of like getting glasses and being
Oh,
bullied and all that.
interesting.
So yeah,
That's why I never got
definitely that
glasses.
fucked me up too,
Not the
because I
testing,
couldn't like
but
see very well, and so I couldn't focus in. It's like a big
mhm.
L on that. So
Yeah, I can see well for so much of my life. Probably,
that's very similar then for both of us.
yeah. It was
Yeah,
more, yeah. It was the case that I've this one of it was change in terms of I'd never. This also happens when I got a new hairstyle when I was in Slovakia, because one of my cousin's friends wanted to cut my hair. And I just looked at myself, and I was getting the compliments, and also I just take the sort of the lack of authenticity with compliments.
yeah,
That's not something I care about, so I'm not doing the handshake. But I looked at myself, I go, I look so different that it's actually freaking me out. And it's the same thing with glasses, that you put glasses on and it just looks so different that no, I can't imagine myself like this. Is actually freaking me the fuck out. And so that's why that's a big part of why I never wore glasses. But it was also just this mano a mano thing that I have, where it's you know if I'm in a zombie apocalypse, and I might not even have my glasses, am I going to be able to do this? I need to be this is why I had really bad hay fever. I never take anything for it. I never take any drugs. I just need to get through this. I need to be able to exist
yeah,
with this, because what happens if I don't have
on
it?
your own. Yeah,
Really weird mano a mano shit. And so there just be at points where it looks like where the teacher is just she knows to the extent that I'm suffering, that she doesn't even care if I don't pay attention, because I'm just, my eyes are blood red. Maybe not blood red, but they're quite red.
yeah,
And I'm
dry
just
as
unable
fuck.
to do anything.
Oh yeah,
And so
so funny.
yeah, it's just really weird mano a mano. I have to deal with everything myself. But also that's why I find these videos also I really like them, because they are just about the self, in terms of exclusively about the self, but in terms of they giving you revelations about the self. And Carl Gustav Jung is at least a lot of his prescription is to integrate your shadow.
Yeah,
And that is you dealing with yourself, you interfacing with yourself. And I love that mano a mano, you do it yourself. There is, in Souls, the way we play, we had like a very strict way of playing it, in terms of, oh, if you're using Pokemon, I call them Pokemon, but you're basically summoning a whole fucking squad of people to help you, or you can actually just get a real person to join your world. And that was sacrilege. if we played. And
Wow.
I enforced that heavily. We can't play with this. We have to do
Yeah,
mano a mano. And that's
Yeah.
what Frenzy called it. That's why I use that term now. Frenzy called it, oh, it's mano a mano. I think it's a Yaka term, actually. Yeah, he was talking about like the mano a mano fights. And I go, you didn't fucking play mano a mano. You spam Pokemon. And so I
Yeah.
started spamming this word. It's like, oh, it's mano a mano. We have to play mano a mano. It's just one-on-one. And there's this one fight, actually, where there are a bunch of like summon signs which summon a bunch of characters, and it's meant to be this like cinematic fight where you're fighting this like massive guy with two swords, and you're on this like flat plane of sand, and you're all charging to beat this, because that's like sort of the storyline where it's you've been summoned here for, you know, like the champion, the feast,
Right.
or whatever
Okay.
the
Gotcha.
fuck it's called. And so you're meant to be all, and the fight starts really far away. It's like a fucking battlefield of like a bunch of corpses strewn everywhere, a bunch of swords trying to like paint this out for you. The sky is blood red,
Yeah.
and this person starts at the other side of the field, and you're just running across it, summoning
Oh,
all
that's
these
so
guys,
alpha.
and you're building an army. For us, it's like,
Yeah.
oh no, it's like mono in my. You
That's
just
so
go
alpha. Yeah. That's so
solo.
much. Yeah.
You shouldn't enforce that. It's like, oh, you have to do it alone, because that's just the hard way to play. That's the, you have to interface with all the attacks, and you have to create your own space to be able to heal. For us, that was really important. But I think and for EXE, it was also quite serious in terms of because I'm the one who led him through the game, and so I imparted all my philosophy of, oh, you have to do this mano a mano. That's the real way to do it. Because if you play like, you know, if you use all this cheese shit, you know, that's just fugazi. You're not really doing the challenge, and that's not the philosophy of the game. And so he really, yes, he was, you know, he would also play mano a mano, but he was way less about the philosophy. Like EXE was just super into it. He was, I'm
Right.
like a father teaching my son, you know, my craft that has been going on for generations. He's like, oh yeah, we have to play mano a mano. He's like
He's like,
arguing
this is
with
the only way to
people.
play. He's like, obviously, this is the only way to play. He's like, this is how I grew up. He's like, this is the only way to play.
Yeah, exactly. And so that's always been my philosophy, in terms of, I like to deal things with alone, and maybe it's there's been a lot of criticism of that
Huh.
recently, I think, in terms of actually, let me go to the toilet first and I'll tell you.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, hi.
need to terminate her before she turns.
It's my fucking daughter. I wouldn't even have hesitated. Turned around. Turned around. Landed on the wrong.
Hello. Hello.
Watch that video, by the way. It's like 5 seconds long. It's a crazy video, by the way.
We need to terminate her before she turns.
It's my fucking daughter. I wouldn't even have hesitated. Turned around. Turned around.
Hello.
I wouldn't even turn around when you hesitate. Bow! Turn around, bow! He's such a psycho, dude. He doesn't have any integration. Like,
That
it's just all like vibes and memes, like separately.
this guy's a daughter.
I can't even believe that.
That's crazy to me. The fact that I was actually as soon as he had daughter, he starts smiling and starts thinking about that's you can't even be maybe I actually have to show a parent because I'm not a parent, definitely not a parent. Like I would say definitely as if there's some ambiguity there, but definitely not a parent, you know, definitely not big.
Yeah, I mean, personally, not. I actually didn't assume you were a parent. Weirdly enough, I don't know about that.
We talking about my kids EXE. Been driving
That's true.
them along,
And you're a very proud dad right now. You're very proud. Proud of your son.
Yeah, my
You and your son are not. You gotta be
first
fucking.
premiere.
Yeah.
First premiere EXE. Whatever the fuck they call the North Korean dictator. My first premiere is some bullshit. That's oh yeah, I've been calling EXE dictator EXE just because I really don't approve of that, and
Sure.
I'm blatantly hinting at that. It's like, oh, democratic EXE, dictator EXE, just because that was insane. But I don't want to relitigate that. I wanted you were talking about the Chinese these Chinese women that were
I saw the video you said on that. I didn't watch it fully, but I saw what it was about.
And to me, I think it was like during the end. For me, it was. There is no nice way to put it, but I thought it was pathetic. I really did think it was pathetic, and maybe I'm just not able to empathize with her situation. But I think I am. I think I'm fully empathizing. I'm just not. I understand the feelings there in terms of at least some of the feelings. Maybe, you know, not to the extent that she is, and maybe not all the feelings. But when she describes everything, I'm just so unsatisfied with. Oh, by the way, I watched more on this stuff too. There was another video where it was so fucking crazy. It was these girls that were sold off to these to this like broker, and these broker would resell them to parents that had sons, and they were eventually going to marry the adopted daughter to their sons, and they weren't treated really well, sort of like some servitude, like status stuff going in the family. And then they were forced to marry, and in the clause, they were talking about how there was a stuff removed. They revised marriage or something, some marriage law, and they revised it to remove these, like basically exclude these women from being able to get divorced. And so it's really hard. Like they're still married to these to these men, and they just cringe back, and they're sort of telling stories about, oh yeah, sometimes the parents, the foster parents will just knock at my door because, you know, I'm not, they're like 16, 17, by the way. They're knocking at my door because I'm just not, we're sleeping in different rooms, and I would lock my door because what the fuck? I don't want to.
Yeah.
I don't want to have sex with this man. What the fuck? Like, this is my brother. Like I view
Holy
this
fuck.
person as my brother. And so you're
Yeah.
just hearing horrific stories like this. And so
Holy fuck.
there is a matchmaking service to find real I'm not even calling them real parents. I don't know. I'm giving credence.
Yeah,
to
biological
the
parents. Yeah,
biological
biological
parents, right? And there was, I don't even know if it was translated well, because it was just, to me, it just didn't even make any sense. But the daughter was, and they're doing this like first match up thing where they're making it. I don't even know why they sort of like made it into a. It's not really a game show, but it was. They gamified it to the extent that it was okay. Well, I'm gonna pull the girl up now, and now I'm gonna call the family name of who she's genetically related to, and then they come up, and then they're saying, "Oh, we look alike," and I'm thinking, "What the fuck? That's the first thing that you're saying?" Because for me, it's swords out. If I was in a position of these girls, I'd feel so betrayed and so angry. But it was one of those things where these girls had such a shit life, and they're talking about how they're questioning, why did this happen to me? Why would my parents give me up? And then to me, I just saw it as like an End.exe thing where they're sort of just talking as if nothing fucking happened. And for me, that was insane. But there was a point in the video where it was, I don't know, it's like some Chinese thing, but they were saying, "Oh, kowtow to your dad, you're his daughter," and then she just does it. And I just lost. It wasn't even a cringe. It was some monitor smashing.
Yeah, it's so gross.
Content.
It's incredibly
it was
gross.
So fucking disgusting. And back to this video that I sent. It was different circumstances. But the fact that she basically was saying that, yeah, I wanted to meet she says something really interesting. She said she wanted to meet my parents, and initially the mom didn't want to meet her, which was okay, that's funny. But after she saw that the daughter was making videos saying that, oh, I'm not gonna judge my parents, she was happy to meet the daughter. And
that's even more interesting. What the fuck?
For me, it was just like the lack of backbone to face your, biological creation. They want to meet you, so you should have to face them no matter what. Like you fucking smacked in the face. Yeah, you should explain, what happened, what are the circumstances, give them answers, because that's probably been in their head every day of their life. Every night when they're falling asleep, they're thinking that they definitely deserve answers. Like there is no, oh, I looked at your videos and you're going to be nice to me. The fact that and to the girl that was foster daughter, I think she lived in the Netherlands, by the way. She had she actually had sisters and brothers, biological, and she was remarking on how their lives were really different, how she lived, like, in comparison to them, very privileged. And so in the sense that, she, maybe that tempered her in terms of she didn't go through the same hardships as these other women that were, forcefully married to their, to their household brothers. But
so crazy.
Still, you should have had swords out. For me, you should have had swords out. For me, that would have been a ploy to, I would have these internet videos up. I'm not going to judge them, but the fact that you came out here, right, on YouTube, and you said that before you even learn anything about the parents, in terms of what were their reasons, what were their circumstances, and you learn about that, you basically pre-negotiated, in a sense.
Yeah, in terms of how it would be viewed and resolved. Yeah.
And to me, that was really pathetic, but it's also, why are you even looking for your biological parents in the first place? To me, if I adopted a kid and, I raised, like, you are calling me dad and I'm calling you son, and for me, I'm putting all my resources into helping you, and then there's a longing for you for a parent that is not your parent. They just biologically made you. They just shared the same biology. They just, had sex and then they spawned you out. They did a biological process, but they had no sort of interaction with you. And for you to say, oh yeah, by the way, I'm looking for my biological parents, for me, that might be a serious break in the relationship. A serious break. For me, I'm becoming very dejected, because for me, that's the highest insult. For me, that's the highest insult, that someone that did not fucking contribute shit And yet you're treating this as, because they're not just treating this as, oh, I'm just going to meet somebody that's like my biological
Yeah. Yeah.
thing.
I know. I'm gonna be
It's
my
this,
real parents, my true family. Yeah, like I know
exactly.
exactly what you're saying.
That's
Yeah.
exactly what it's coming off as, is this, is if
Yeah.
you're putting stock into them, an undue amount of stock into them after I did all of that. For me, it's have them. There's a phone call, but you never disrespect somebody that raised you, that fed you, versus somebody that
Exactly.
contributed genetic material. That, to me, that's insult. Because
Wha-
for me, I can relate to this to the extent that I have a biological dad that's running around. I don't know what the fuck he's doing.
Exactly. Exactly.
I don't give a, like, why would I care to meet him? I don't know anything about him. I have no idea what he's doing, and I'm not curious because, and I'm not curious in terms of, I have no hate towards the guy. No hate in my heart. I
Okay.
have no perception of what he is. He never comes into my mind in the first place, because why would he? Why would I be thinking about
Right.
my biological father when I have everything that I want from the people that raised me throughout my life? And I actually
Right.
long for the, like, my mom had, you know, a boyfriend that she's no longer with, that I saw, like, through my foundational years, I grew up with him. And so there is this
Yeah.
bond that we still have, even though
Even though you're
they
not
haven't been
even.
together
Yeah.
for like 15
Yeah.
years. There is
Yeah.
that bond. For me, it's, every few years I will seek him out, seeking my biological person out. I'm seeking out the people that bathed me, that gave me, even though they didn't have to do the stuff that they did for me. The fact that they dealt with bullshit that I did to them, and they were okay, you know, I still show love. To me, I will always go towards that. And so for me and her video, I thought that was the highest tier pathetic. It is pathetic.
So pathetic.
It is the most pathetic shit that you could ever do. And I think her parents should be, and to an extent, I think they would actually feel a little bit, well, I contributed all to this, and now you're sort of putting undue
I would be
attention
so
onto
pissed about that. Yeah.
yeah, I would. Uh, and you can't
I
ever
mean,
express that because you're gonna ruin the relationship. But I'm not like that. I have
what
no decorum.
they don't have a. I think their problem is that, as you were saying, like they have that sense of abandonment. And they feel like they just want to kind of have that thing be not on their mind. I think anymore. They want to be like, whereas you came to terms with it without feeling the need to like search out. Like they feel like unless they do that, they can't come to terms with it. And like I think that's why they're fine to pre-negotiate, because they're like, it doesn't even matter how it goes because it's going to be a formality almost. It's like seeing like distant relatives you don't even care about because it's like, but it's like, but it's also this idea of like a whole other world that like could have been possible. And like people really would like to know, like, well, what if I was raised in these other places, right? So it's like I think it's more about themselves than it is even about the other person. But yeah, the fact they're giving this much like, oh my god, I can't wait to see my biological parents, my real family, like to me, that's a total
Crying.
misunderstanding of what family is. Like to me, that's like,
Exactly.
yeah, but I think it's because they're like they're imagining what it would have been like to have a different world that
Mm-hmm.
is making them cry. You know, it's like they actually have no sense of what it would have been like to raise by this person. Like the fact is, this person gave them up. So the question is, like, it might have been worse to be raised by that person, right? Like, so it's kind of but it's like just the fact of like, oh, they get to imagine a different world in which they were raised in a good situation. I think that's what they're desperate for. I think.
Mm-hmm.
But you're right, it's pathetic. It's like it's totally disrespectful to like the people who actually spent the time to love and care for you and raise you.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Yeah.
my like but and I think even like you can even like have a person who's a biological father that's like in your life. Like I remember this one girl I knew, Brandy, like she didn't like her dad. And her
Mm-hmm.
dad was in her life, you know, but she didn't like the way that he treated her mom. And so she would call him, she didn't call him her dad, she called him her sperm donor. Which was like my
That's
mom's
awesome.
sperm donor. Because she was like rejecting the idea that he had actually been a dad in her life. She's like 16, right? She's like rejecting the idea and like coming up with good ways to kind of distance herself. She's like, yeah, he fucking made my genetic material. He's like, he hasn't been a father, you know. He's like, she's like distinguishing between these things really early. She's a very smart person, right? So it's kind of rare, but I think among people who are, they definitely see the difference between those two.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think you're right to see the difference 100%. Like I think the tendency of like, oh my god, I'm so happy for you, you get to see your true family. Like I think that's like a touristy like content consumption mindset that like, you know, like I don't think that's really how a lot of people who are faced with this would think.
Really, I find that all
Yeah,
too
well, because in
common
the
on the
Chinese
internet.
in the Chinese one child policy documentary, like there was a guy who was running the service. Yeah, like I think it's probably the same, might have been the same guy, but the guy who was like pulling up profiles on people and like being like, you know, his wife, they adopted like 3 Chinese kids, and they realized that they had actually adopted these kids under like false pretenses, and they had come from other places than the orphanage says. And so they started this foundation to like reconnect kids with their quote unquote true parents. But what was interesting in the documentary was that so many of the people that they reached out to like didn't want anything to do with it. Like they were like, I don't even know why I would care. Like, I don't even know what this is. Like, this is so weird. And like the people in China were actually much more like, I wonder how life is in America for this girl that like left China, who's like one of ours who went there. Like, I wonder what they're like. It's like the sister was like, I wonder what I would have been like in America. So she gets to see that in her quote unquote sister, right? And but the sister America is like, I have no connection to any of this. Like, I don't know what I'm doing. She didn't want to be contacted at all. She like shut it down completely. And a lot of people do. So I think that's like, to me, that's why I'm saying like it's not as common as you would think. People would be like, oh my God, I gotta go find my true self, my real destiny, because like that's like when they're actually reaching out to these people, like they're not always wanting to get it, because it's like it's like, well, what? Like that's crazy. Like I don't know.
Weird biological determinism too.
Oh yeah.
I want to discover my roots, not just their family, but in terms of, oh yeah, I'm from, or my
roots is a metaphor. It's a fake metaphor. That's such a good point. Like the tree roots, those are actual things that like made the tree and like allow it to live. And like the biological roots, these are in no way the same thing. Like these are such different things, right? Like
That's all Fugazi. You trying to, you know, discover your it's not your culture, and I hate that the ownership of culture too. You don't own it just because you have the same genetic material as, you know, the person that or vaguely that as the, you know, the people as your ancestors. And it's all Fugazi. You don't own that culture, and that culture will morph and change into whatever. Come the point that you're, you know, deep in the ground thousands of years later, doesn't give a fuck about you, and you don't own that. You don't own that change. You can contribute to that change, but that's for anyone to do, and anyone that lives there and understands it. For you that doesn't understand it, let's say if, you know, somebody that doesn't have the same genetic makeup as the ancestors that lives in that country, you know, they're contributing to that change. Who's for you to say, oh no, this is actually my culture and I'm rediscovering my culture? You're not rediscovering anything. You're not part of that culture. You existed somewhere else, and now you're coming back saying, oh, just because I have a genetic right to this. Genetic right? What the fuck does that mean? Anything? You only know what genetic. If you didn't know what genetics are, you would have no connection to this. This is all fake. So
but also like I mean, like I know people who, because they felt like they didn't resonate with their family or their culture, like they were outsiders, they had like they're raised in like kind of religious households, like they had a lot of like solace in the idea of like other family being in like Italy and not having that same kind of bias, and like they liked having the idea, like even if it's not like that's their true family or anything, it's like, well, that's a part of like them potentially, like that's potentially something they could explore and cultivate and draw on. Like it's like, yeah, it's not now, but I'm also fine with them making the choice to be like, that I do want to be and understand this part of the world more. And I have relatives who, you know, are there, and like I'm not, genetic. I mean, genetic relatives, but like they're still people. I could still talk to them. I could, you know what I mean? Like it doesn't have to be like I don't have to be like fully emotionally and deeply connected to someone to like want to go and like understand and meet them. You know, and like if I found out that I had like relatives that are inviting me to stay at their place in like Italy, like,
if they're inviting me, of course.
Yeah, hell yeah, right.
Fuck,
you know, it's like
absolutely going.
But if you're only knowing about that because like you're taking genetic tests that then give you like 23andMe data that then connects you to this like already made family tree thing that you didn't realize you had, and then you're like, oh, reaching out to them, and then they're inviting you over, like I think that's a fine process too. Like it doesn't have to that they're always reaching out to you first. Like I think it's fine to pursue that, but yeah, the narrative of like the real family, my roots, and like all that, like I totally reject that too. I think that's so dumb, and I think it's like it's such an insult to people who actually spent time to like make you who you are. You know, you are who you are not because of your blood, but because of your brothers, right? Like it's obviously
exactly.
Yeah, that's why blood brothers can be a thing, but you know, you can't actually be brothers unless you're raised together, right? Like you could be relative by blood and not be brothers, but you could be not relatives by blood and actually be brothers, right? Brotherhood transcends that, I think.
Yeah. Of course, yeah. That's why, you know, many organizations use brotherhood, sisterhood, and it's never related. You know, brotherhood is actually never even used in the context, or rarely ever used in the context of, that's a that's a blood thing. It's always used outside of that because there's this weird understanding, this tacit understanding that brotherhood is from shared sort of camaraderie and going through hard experiences, and everyone understands that tacitly, and so people sort
And
of
yet they can't fucking integrate it into their larger understanding of the relationships between people. They're like, oh no, my real family. Like, I really think they wouldn't. I think most people wouldn't integrate those two things. I think they would see them as like separate questions of like, yeah, you can have people that are like family, but also your family is like who you're related to.
it's really oh it's really interesting talking to EXE because why I find him so similar is because he's also uh, he I think he more so is more ostracized from his family just because also the fact that he's not really open about what he likes. For me, it's more of like a lack of engagement with what I like. There isn't that really there isn't that family figure. The most I had was the guy I was talking about, my mom's former boyfriend, where there was this really serious engagement with cultivating early interests that I had and actually engaging with those. Call of Duty was from him. Zombies was
Yeah,
from him, which is really funny.
that's so funny.
Um, and so cultivating these early interests and taking an interest to what I'm drawn to, DS. The reason why I make I don't know if I told you about the kaya cakes that I make, but the reason I make those is because he's from
Oh, your grandma, right?
Malaysia. What'd you say?
Oh, isn't your grandma like they made cakes
Oh,
or something? Or
my grandma, yeah, she used to be a professional cake maker, but yeah,
okay, sorry.
but I made a kaya cake. I've made several. Um, and I like the kaya cakes, but yeah, that's Malaysian. That's a Malaysian spread. You need to try it. It's got such a
I gotta try it.
unique taste. It's definitely a profile that you just will not really find in many places, like coconut. But it doesn't really taste like coconut. It's also quite sweet. It's like an orange viscous, kind of viscous. You could look up. Sometimes it's green, because it's with infused with pandan, I think. But
Oh, okay, wait, Kaya. Well, how do you spell it?
Kaya. I think Malaysian spelling is fairly phonetic, so yeah.
Oh, okay, let's
Kaya.
go.
Um,
Oh, the jam. Let's go.
yeah, Kaya jam, yeah.
Yes, I have seen this. This does look so fucking good.
Mm-hmm. And
It looks like something I would like Nutella almost. I would just like fucking eat with a spoon.
right. I couldn't eat Nutella with the spoon because it's so sugary, and so is Kaya. It's really sugary. So unless you like that, I'll
I do.
definitely spread it on something. Right. Okay. But yeah, just it's just pathetic to me. It's exe. I relate to exe
But
because he was saying,
yeah,
oh yeah, I see you more of a brother than my than my real brother, which is really funny because there's a level of acceptance that I give him and that he can talk about and go through conversations with me that the only time I've heard EX's brother speak, actually I've actually heard him on several occasions now, but I directly heard him and him having a phone call with EXE, and EXE just insisting, I'm not gay, because he told him about painting his
yeah,
he was telling
the
his
fingernails. Yeah.
fingernails, and he said, I'm not gay. uh, and to me that was just really shocking that he couldn't
Yeah.
even be frank with his so-called family member, and also just the lack of acceptance that he's always gotten. I totally understand that he has such strong connections to people that he's met on the internet that have, oh
Oh
yeah, we
yeah.
have similar interests and I've actually accepted you. That's the only. But he was telling me about best friends that he had, and for me, my best friends have been, we just, if we start talking to each other with, it's like a 24-hour thing. This is just how much we enjoy each other's attention. Sometimes it gets to the extent where we're just like beating the fuck out of each other. Like, that's how we were. We just started beating each other up and we have to get separated. It's gonna be like so. It's like gay. It's to the level of like Sasuke and Naruto.
Yeah,
Really
yeah.
just
It's so
close
funny.
friends. And so we're he's the one that got me into Pokemon. and I was really into it, and we allowed each other to express interest that the other wouldn't have, and we would integrate that. I was into New Super Mario Bros, and so we ended up getting New Super Mario Bros. I was really into all of that. I remember all of that, and EXE was telling me that, when he had his next door neighbors that were his, I guess so-called best friends at the time, he was showing them something that he deeply cared about, and it was Borderlands, and they just didn't care at all. For me, that's just unthinkable to have a best friend
Right.
that I'm telling you something, and then you're just not paying attention to what I'm saying. You're not really that interesting. You're not asking these questions. What the fuck? My best friends were
Yeah, not even a friend.
super
Yeah.
inquisitive about the shit that I was showing them. That was crazy to me. That, wait, you never had what I had, and your family you were distant from your family for different reasons, but you never were seen in the real world. And so I understand why you have these really strong connections on the internet. So I really relate in that sense
Same.
that this is the only time you've gotten somebody else's undevoted attention and that you can explore. The way I
Yep.
met EXE was he was talking shit on gay people, and so I told him, what the fuck are you doing? It's like
Yeah.
it was like maybe 2020 or something. I don't remember the exact time. But for him to, oh wait, you're bisexual now? That's, yeah, okay. Now you're actually with somebody that you're in a friend group that lets you explore those feelings, and then you find out more about yourself. Wow, that's super great
That's
for you.
liberating. Yeah.
And don't fucking tell me that, your family is, oh, that's my blood, don't
You
tell
can't
me
change
that
your-
because,
Yeah.
yeah, don't fucking tell me that, because the people that you met that accepted, and you were doing a bunch of bullshit, and the people that accepted you despite all that bullshit, and it's actually to the sense that I think he does recognize that, because I feel really bad, because he says, he hates himself in terms of who he used to be, and he can't stand who he used to be, and he always goes through that. I'm just going, wow, you should definitely look at a kid and the way they act, because I look at my sister and the way she acts, and what would you call it? He has a. It's pretty funny because I keep saying, my brain telling me daughter, 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 because he once
Yeah,
called
yeah.
her his daughter. So that's just in my head, but it was his niece, and we also have that yeah, no, so it was his niece, and he could, I bet he could look at her and see how the way she behaves, and sort of, kids just do really disgusting things to
They
their
do, yeah.
caretakers, and seeing their caretakers deal with that bullshit and still end up loving them, yeah, you
It's
can't.
very inspiring, honestly.
Exactly. And I guess he needs to look at that more, where, yeah, people have deficits and they have faults, but there are just people there that are going to allow you to grow into a better person. And also, another thing I related with him was he never really spent time with his niece, in terms of, he referred to her as a very distant thing, a very distant being. And his sister lived in it was his sister's kid, um, and they lived in the same house. And so he talked about her as if she was some distant being. And honestly, that's how I feel about my sister, where she's just some distant
Sure.
being. She's, you're, for me to call her my sister, yeah, that's already a reluctant thing. I just call her that just because that's the easiest thing. You're not, yeah, we're not gonna, um, I mean, we could potentially go up and actually, oh wow, we actually find relation, but she is not of my generation. She's 9 years old.
Sure. She's way younger than you. Yeah, big age gap. I totally see how that would be challenging for sure. Like my sister's only 2 to 3 years younger, so there's like tons of overlap. It's like way easier.
Yeah, and you went through the same formative parts of
Exactly.
life where you would be interacting, where,
Raised together. Exactly.
yeah, where I wasn't. I didn't have those
Yeah.
same formative experiences with her, and so for me, so I don't. If we were never in the same house, I just would never want to interact with you. I'd never care to interact with you, just because we never had those connections, and I couldn't possibly have that connection with you. But I noticed that, I don't know if that's the norm, but For me, I perceive it not as the norm. I see as my behavior being really off the norm in terms of, oh wow, what you call it, a younger sister, younger brother. Oh, that's really exciting.
Yeah.
That's one of us. That's really exciting. I want to spend time with them. I want to do stuff with them. For me, just so distant. I just couldn't give a fuck. Um, what is your read on that? It's really off the norm. With me and EXE.
Oh, like the distance that you guys have with your family? I mean, I think it takes two to tango, right? Like I think that the question of like why one person is distant from another is also about the other person, right? Like and I think it makes sense that like your sister who is way younger is not like as interested in hanging out with her way older brother. Like I think that's also that makes sense. She's doing her own thing, right? So I mean, that all makes sense
It's
to me.
more
And like,
like me doing my own thing because I mean I don't know her. I don't expect her to be. I don't expect it for a kid to. Oh yeah, I want to go and hang out with my brother. It's more of
yeah,
you create the environment where they want to hang out with you. I haven't put
yeah,
effort into
exactly.
doing that. I don't do any of that. I see that as my responsibility, and I never fostered that. But I do see with, or at least I've seen with other people where they really give a fuck about. It's like, oh wow, I have a younger family member, and it's like, oh, it's your younger sister and younger brother. They super give a fuck about that. Super exciting. My mom, because my aunt, my youngest aunt is she's 33 and my mom's 47 and she's like the third
Okay.
youngest. So we're talking about 15-year age gap between the older members, which were all around the same age, 1-2 years apart, and then my aunt who's 15 years apart. It's but my mom was saying that, oh, she was really excited and she keeps I mean she's older now, she's fucking 33, so that's a fully formed person.
100%.
But she was saying, yeah, it was really exciting. It was really exciting to have a new member of the family and new person to interact with. To me, it's like I could never see it that way. It's you've spawned in, but we may be genetically related, but I don't give a I don't give a fuck. I don't give any stakes to my biological. Just for context, I didn't see my Slovakian family until 2024. Since 2014, 2015, I didn't see them in
Really?
because I didn't communicate with them. Yeah, I just didn't have any communications with them at all. That was the first time I
Wow.
really went to see them. Yeah, I just wait. I've forgotten the language. I don't speak to you guys ever.
Right.
And,
Yeah. I see that.
and so I have no. You don't know anything about me. And I don't even know why you want to know anything about me. It's really weird for me. So you don't know anything about me. You don't know. Apart from I do feel bad because my grandma did die in 2023, and so I hadn't seen her in years. I never communicated, and I didn't really want to communicate. And so I never got to see her. I never got to communicate with her because, oh wow, we actually do have a line of interest there, which is like baking. I could have learned so much from her, and I could have learned so much about her from that we have now a shared common interest to talk about. But obviously for a language barrier translator, but she's dead now, so I can't do that. But I still have that sense where I just don't give a fuck about talking to most of them, just because
Sure.
you're just I'll talk to them while I'm there, but that's not something that we just don't speak the same language. It's just so much effort to put into talk to you, and we just don't have the same interest in the sense that we don't live in the same country, so we can't see each other continuously, and you don't like the same things I do, and you never even entertain those things that I do. Oh, okay.
Right.
There are just some people that they just really get you to open up in terms of, oh, you're interested in this, okay, let's talk about that. Not getting that attention really ever. To me that can never be family. That can never be family for me. For me, it's you give a fuck about this bullshit. Let's talk about it. Let's navigate through that. So that's why family can never be, or this so-called biological family can never be my family. That's not what I want, and that's not what I care about. For me, it's your character and all that stuff. So me calling, my sister, that's, to me, I don't, that hurts to say every time. I cringe every time because I have no idea the extent of your character. I don't know where that goes or
Sure.
where that's going to take you. And maybe to some extent I should be, maybe I could, I guess like intervene or, impart my wisdom. I don't really want to. I don't like imposing on somebody when that she's not my kid. And I
Right.
don't know if my philosophies in terms of what I would want her to do align with, other things um that my mom and her husband are doing. I have no I
I would
I have
doubt
no
it. I
idea.
mean, I would doubt it, but like also like I think part of it is that people are so terrified of being alone.
Hmm.
So I think any opportunity in which like they have people who can call them family, I think
Hmm.
it's almost like easier because it's like, oh, these are people who won't leave me. These are people who won't like abandon me and like these are people who are on my side, basically that I can trust. And so I think that's part of what people are looking for is people who they can like wholeheartedly trust almost implicitly. And there's this idea that like family is that. So I think that's where it comes from. But yeah, like I think for me and I think for you, like it's about authentic engagement. And I think people are people and like people can become family, but also family can become people, I mean, they can just become other people like it. So I think I that's where I'm at with it too, is like it matters about like the relationship specifically. It's not, there's no set in stone. It's not carved into stone that relationships have to be what they are forever, like that's not a thing. So at least in
Hmm.
my mind.
So yeah, in my mind, and my mom doesn't actually understand that. She's saying, oh, friends over, family over friends. Friends will leave you behind, but family will never leave you behind. And I see, I hate these like weird, these weird, sort of, I don't know what the fuck you call them, but like things that you hang, like love, laugh, live, or whatever the fuck,
Oh
live,
yeah,
laugh,
yeah, yeah, the
love, or
cliches,
whatever.
those cliches, yeah.
Yeah, and it was one of them was like family, family first. I think she sent me something on Discord because she made a Discord account because
No way, you're wild.
Skype, yeah, because Skype
Awesome.
went down, and so
Okay.
yeah, she
Chase.
uses Discord to communicate with me, and I think she sent
Okay.
me something where it was family never abandons you, and I'm just going, yeah, you're talking to me who knows, like I'm learning about the is it like fratricide in the Ottoman Empire where brothers are like killing brothers
Yeah,
for
yeah,
the ability to rule the empire, and it's to the point where they actually need to kill each other because it's a precedent, and it's expected that that's going to happen, so you actually kind of have
yeah,
to defend yourself by killing your brothers. Oh yeah,
100%.
that's, yeah, family's never going to betray you, true. You're
Never gonna
just
do
looking
that.
you're just looking
Yeah, the
throughout
best thing is like
history.
it's not about like a declarative statement of like fundamental factuality. It's more like she's saying that she won't abandon you. I think is what she's saying. If I was to say, just to be realistic there. But in
Hmm.
terms of like the claim itself, that idea that like you don't get to choose your family or family never, it's like people choose their family all the time. Like divorce is a thing. Like fucking people like abandon their kids all the time. Like it's constantly the case. People abandon families, and I think a lot of the trauma people have is literally because that like families are so able to be broken apart without any sort of recourse. Like,
Hmm. I interpreted that as you should value your family more because it's she knows my perspective of I don't I'm very okay to be distant from my biological family, and I don't necessarily feel an impulse to go and talk to them. I don't even understand how she doesn't see that as a to me that's just very obvious in terms of being seen by somebody is
yeah,
so great, and not being seen by somebody that is your so-called family. That that fucking sucks. That
it does.
super
Yeah.
sucks. And how are you family if you're not willing to engage with all
What
the
they care
things
about,
that I
what they
like?
value. Well,
Exactly.
that's funny because I was talking to that autistic guy actually about this, and I was asking him, I'm like, so often there's this thing that happens where like, okay, I'll give people a lot of time in terms of like their interests and their goals and stuff like that, but then the question is like I friends back in the day that like I would just notice that the amount of time I could spend on my interests or talking about the things I cared about would just kind of decrease over time, and like that they were just not interested or willing to engage with me. And I'm like, okay, well, if that's the case, I'm gonna go do my own thing, right? I'm not gonna, right? but then they're like, where did Niraj go? Like, hey, Niraj, you want to hang out? And I'm like, you don't want to hang out with me. Like, I'm trying to do something myself. And that's who I am, right? Like, it's like, but you're coming to me and you're saying like you want me to not do that, but also be around you at the same time. And to me, a lot of advice for people who have like autism and stuff is about how like you need to be more adaptive to like people's kind of like neurotypical people's like interests or their kind of inability to hold on to long form things or their kind of eclectic interests. But
Really?
to me, it's more like there's no interest in adapting to me or my sort of set of circumstances or goals or mind. And it's like, well, why do I not hang out with you? It's like, well, because you weren't hanging out with me. And they don't get that. They don't get how like, well, yeah, I was hanging out with you. It's like, no, you were playing like Subnautica and like not listening to anything I mentioned. Well, even though I'm mentioning like one thing, I'm like, I'm not even bringing like making that much like of a demand on people, and it's too much for them. And so at a certain point, I'm just not going to play this weird game where I have to pretend like I'm someone I'm not.
Hmm. That's interesting. That's the advice. Yeah, sometimes I get recommended these videos. Say sometimes. Um, this has happened a few times, but it was somebody that got diagnosed for autism later in life. So I'm just really curious because I've just never seen that as part of my identity. I don't
Sure.
ever say it to me. I'm not connected to it in whatsoever because I wasn't really. I was guided early on in my life through
Sure.
it, but I just rejected all of that. In terms of I told you that it was distressing for me, and I think partly was their approach was just wasn't really fully honest with what was going on, and how
Yeah.
I was different from other people, and that's why they're showing me this detail. Just wasn't upfront about it. So I rejected that, and so but also I just I just never. This is something I've rarely ever talked about with anyone.
No,
Um,
valid, valid.
just because
But
I
I think
don't
it's
see
all
it.
connected to this because there's an so like because the whole thing is like here's like we feel like we have to mask ourselves to sort of hide our sense of interest and sense of self because they're just not appreciated or engaged with by society. It's like, okay, well, what's worse than um like masking and hiding yourself, showing your true self and having it be rejected and having people not care and not care, like give you attention. Like as you said, like when you don't have that sense that people like give a shit or like have attention towards what you're given, like that makes you feel bad about yourself and you're like, am I weird? Am I like the problem here? Right. But like, that's the thing you got to realize is it's like, no, they just have like different expectations of like what it means to be a friend. And like part of that means that they're kind of more, uh, like there's less density to how much, you know, there's less density to the intensity of how much they're fucking, attention they're giving to you. And,
Mhm.
they're not thinking of things in the same way you are or caring to engage in conversations the same way you are. And so it feels like they're just not like you. And it's true, but then it's like the advice people give is very much like about how you adapt to being more like them. And to me, that's fine, but they have to also adapt to being and around
I've
me.
heard of
Like I'm
this.
not going to change myself to the point where I'm not myself and I'm not, having a okay time.
I've heard
Basically,
of this masking thing, but just because it's only a concept that I've heard of recently in terms of just neurotypical behavior, but
Mhm.
never. I don't know if I've ever. I don't know if I resonate with masking or the masking in terms of hiding my interests.
Okay.
Because I was always somebody that maybe talked a little bit too much about
I mean,
caring
yes,
about one particular thing. I mean, in terms of
I
what
never had to mask though, but I noticed that
mhm,
people when I do it,
mhm.
which I have, it's not like I don't do it ever. It's just that it's just not common. And you have to, I mean, obviously you're gonna adjust to the circumstance in terms of how you present yourself. That's just like a basic
Mhm.
thing. Like obviously you're gonna have a sense of engagement of like, well, what's expected? What's the kind of what's the social circumstance? What's the context in which I'm acting? But it's a different
That's a
level of
very
like
it's a very universal thing. So that's why I
right, it's a very
don't.
universal thing. Right, that's a very universal thing. This is more about holding back what makes you kind of, passionate and excited and kind of your own sense of self and creating a sort of mask over it that is more acceptable and adaptable to social circumstances. So instead of adapting to a circumstance, you're creating a mask for the general social circumstance. Do you know what I mean? Like that's different. Like whereas like, oh, I'm at a dinner party, there's etiquette. Oh, I'm at this place, there's other etiquette. This is more like in general, when I'm in the world, there are sets of things that do and do not work with interacting with people. And I have to create a mask in which those things are emphasized that do allow me to interact with people rather than don't, you know? So that's a totally different thing where you have to actually kind of create a semi-false self that normal people are okay with, basically.
To me, that's the same. To me, fundamentally compromising on, I guess like visual etiquette in terms of, for me, it's just disturbing that everyone just wears a suit and that's just how formal engagements are, to the point where people are wearing suits at their weddings. To me, that's really disturbing. To me, that is a level of just such, to me, that's a massive compromise. It's a really big compromise for me to make to engage in the world. To the extent that you call masking. To me, that is all the same. And to me, I see everyone making this compromise. For me, that everyone is making this compromise. This isn't, oh, wow, I'm just existing. You are making that compromise to engage in society. Same with, the best example to use is, I guess, like hijabs or makeup, where you are making this such a big compromise, both financial and just a time-consuming compromise, that is actually really hard for me. There's no way women don't see that as, wow, this is kind of
pathetic.
This is really pathetic, and to a large extent really fugazi. There isn't but I don't know, actually, now that I think about it more, now that you present that you present it as this masking thing as being more so than the whole, this social etiquette. To me, that's all painful to adhere to. I don't want to.
It is painful.
I hate it.
I hate all of it too. I'm not.
Mm-hmm.
But they're different things. Like they're different to be like, at least when I'm making an assessment. When I'm making an assessment of like, there are general things that I don't do, and then there are things that I don't do in context. Like there are general things that I don't do, which is like, loop on the various sets of conspiracies and terrors that occupy my mind with people publicly. And then there's the things that I don't do in, like, that's any context. And then there's the things that I don't do in like the difference between like a dinner and like going out to see like a sports game. Like those are like such different contexts with like how loud my voice can be, how like, much I can talk during the thing and it's acceptable, like those are all different moments in which I adjust my behavior. But then the overall way in which I have to contain myself is like almost universal, except for the anonymized internet and, all that, right? Like that's I can be online and be myself far more. And so that's why I am online, because I like being myself more than I like masking.
Okay.
Like it's like my choice to be online more is representative of the fact that I don't like doing something which is transcendent of just like a specific dinner party. It's not just that it's all of the moments that exist to make me have to act a certain way that I don't like to act.
Can we talk about the it was a really long read. I think maybe it took me an hour to read through it. It was the this one when they talk about like brain gray matter. I forgot what website it was on. To summarize, it gave you both descriptions and prescriptions on social media, or different downsides. Not just social media, they're talking about gaming too. A lot of the gaming ones really surprised me too. I'm really surprised that the Frontier one, that the gaming ones actually, the descriptions they made about gaming really surprised me, because for me it was, gaming has to be really good for memory, in terms of you're constantly asked to recall things, or at least the games that I play, and the way that I engage with them. And I think games are just like this in general, where a lot of it is problem solving in an environment that you wouldn't even think that you're problem solving in. And I guess if you play the same game over and over again, and it's not a game where it creates new instances for you to problem solve, it can get, okay, now you're just hive minding. You're not doing as much. You're not challenging your memory as much. But in terms of if you broadly game, I think it has to be, and it sucks because I think they were really they never talked about the level of engagement in terms of games. They talked about how much time people spent, but
Yeah,
games are really
exactly.
different. You can't talk
Very
about
different.
watching a comprehensive documentary about a very specialist topic versus watching 4 or Spider-Man. It's
Love
very different.
Live, Love Island. I'm watching
Love
Love
Island or
Island.
something. Exactly right. This is a very they my I intuit that you're going to be having a very different just brain engagement with these different things because they demand a very different engagement. I think in terms of just the way they're. I don't know. Maybe even Love Island and mapping the different like love triangles, love squares, or
Yeah,
oblongs,
maybe there's
others.
maybe it's really complicated. It's actually you have to have a pretty high IQ to understand
Yeah,
Love Island. I don't know.
probably
You have
not.
to have a pretty high IQ to
And there's no
understand that.
continuity too in terms of
Yeah,
it's I mean continuity in within itself. There is a lot of continuity within itself because it's like a long running show, but it doesn't extend to anything past that. There isn't, oh
no,
wow, two fairies real, okay, or two fairies not real, okay, maybe that questions religion or whatever. It extends to
right.
all facets of life. It is the case that that there is no continuity, and I'm very I want my hypothesis to be tested. I'm actually very disappointed in that in terms of gaming in general. No, I refuse to believe it, and I like how they measured the different age cohorts where older people tended to be or older adults tended to be gaming tended to be good for them in terms of memorization, but they were measuring gray matter in people that extensively played games, and it was really
Yeah,
bad for them. And yeah, no, that's really surprising to me that something is not adding up there. Maybe it's the excessive use of just doing one thing and then
that's what I was gonna say. I think it's pretty obvious that it's the what's taking place when you're sitting all the time. Like I think that's that's not good for you. I think it's the repetition of it, and I think it's the fact that it's non-developmental for a lot of people at like the highest levels of like gaming, where you kind of reach a skill ceiling, and it's all about like maintaining that level of skill,
mhm,
rather than sort of evolving yourself personality wise. And
mhm,
I also say like I think the extent to which we're creatures of like different parts of us are super important is like underestimated. Like it matters that this is what we're describing here with the the gamers is that they're usually playing one thing or one area for if 7-8 hours a day. I mean that's a big difference I
mhm.
would say than just like
Yeah,
and then
a
like the older
Zomba
people
is going
like
to be very different to somebody
yeah
that has engaged in zombies, but also has varied interests outside of that they can
exactly
also
it's a big
spend a lot
difference.
of time doing. Yeah, it's really big.
But
So
it's tough. But I think the parts that I was focusing on was more about the fractured partial attention, like repeated partial attention, which I thought was really interesting. I thought that part of um, the way that kind of fucks with your ability to kind of perceive things is strange. Like the fact that your memory is taxed by
they
just
specifically said
constantly
TikTok. I
switching.
noticed out of all the social
Yeah,
media, specifically TikTok was the one that I think they
yeah,
even mentioned that no other social media just produce
no.
results like TikTok, which is really I was like,
But now they
what,
will
really?
because of the reels and the YouTube shorts and stuff. Just to
Exactly.
say, which I think is yeah. So it's gonna only get worse. Like and that was in the other like things I sent too, which is like it's the fact of the way that TikTok works to switch your focus and switch like it's the constant switching of attention and focus and context that I think it undermines and hollows out your internal integrity and because you're being led around by the nose and just letting it happen and you're not deciding to kind of take action in any way other than just oh I didn't like that immediately I'm going to leave. And so you're training yourself and the system to either accept or reject things instantly without a lot of thought and then you're also having to change your like memory like the amount of energy you're putting into memorizing things for the purpose of like constantly engaging and switching between different things and then you're usually doing this as like a break during between work or like when you get home from work so the attention switching is even more dramatic you're leaving a completely different world that is work to then go to a new world which is TikTok. It fucks with your head so bad like so bad.
Vindicated on intuitively hating TikTok. I probably hate it for other things though. I think it's just like a personality thing for me. in terms of the personality that TikTok is going to create. It's just going to be
Oh
infinitely
yeah,
more
yeah.
vapid. It's going to be, I can talk about general things, but once we get into the minutia, it's just you completely stop being
It's
able to
over.
talk about it. Oh, that's so frustrating. Oh yeah, zombie nostalgia reels. Oh yeah,
Oh my
so
god.
trade strat, what about full hit MP40? The fuck? The fuck are you talking about? Dogs on the middle of the rounds? Wait, really? That happened? Oh, okay.
So sad.
Yeah,
Well, because I think it's a lack of evolution. I think that's the whole thing, is the stagnation that we reject. And it's like, for me, a big part of having self-direction is that I don't have to like let some machine stagnate me. Like it matters that I'm not just like letting a machine decide what I'm thinking or doing. And that means that I can then go faster or slower. Like or otherwise I'd have to wait for the machine to let me go faster or slower. Like it just feels like I'm back in class again, having to wait for other people to fucking catch up, and I hate it. It's like, I don't want to have to deal with this problem, just waiting for other people to recognize things so that it becomes statistically relevant as a recommendation. Like, fuck that. If you understand how these systems work, you understand that you're like being gated from understanding things because it's not so widely known that it's statistically relevant to reference as an algorithm. You're not going to give the low probability video recommendation, right? You're always going to give the high probability one. And that one's going to be one that's more popular and seen by a lot of people. And my also hatred from TikTok comes from my first experience on it, which is when I downloaded it, I had to spend 30 minutes to an hour, and it felt like an eternity, just slogging through the worst content I've ever seen and just getting so depressed that this is what the like default recommended was. It took me what felt like so long to get my algorithm right. And as a result, when I ended up deleting it for finals a couple years ago, I never re-downloaded it. I re-downloaded it recently because someone sent me a TikTok and it's going to open up on mobile. So I downloaded it, but I'm not using the For You page. I'm not opening it ever because I don't want to have to go through that process of like retraining it to get what I want to get. It's just not worth it. At the same time, a lot of my understandings of the world came from a particularly effective TikTok algorithm that directed me to things like agnotology. And the reason I know about agnotology is a TikTok video of a girl dancing and talking about how much government information was secret and referencing a scholar named Peter Galison. So I looked him up and I was like, this guy's awesome, right? So it can, for some people, in some moments, in some perfect circumstances, capitalize, but you have to be thinking of it as, oh, this can get me off the app. You can't be thinking of it as like, I need to get another good video on the app, because then you're just stuck, right? You're stagnating. You're stuck. But you can like have inspiration from a lot of things. I think it's never the case that you can't, gain stuff from the, if that makes sense.
Interesting.
But yeah, what else do you want to say about the Frontiers article? Because yeah, like I thought the attention switching was really interesting. Like this part was the heavy multitasking. Because I think that's not like so like I think like this is one of the examples they give. Where is this one?
Let me close tabs. Let me reopen
Like
this.
duh. Right, and then watch this. Are we noticing the dates of the art, like the things they're citing?
I noticed that. Yeah, some of them were in 2007. I was thinking, what? They were already very knowledgeable in terms of these effects of these technologies, even back in the day. And I'm thinking, whoa, how are we now?
Yeah.
How is this now?
I wonder about that too. That's really what I'm wondering too. But they called it age of interruption, and I think that's the thing. Is like, okay, how is it that people are like not like are having their brains fucked with? And I think a big part of it is that they're not given the opportunity to sustain thought or inquiry. They're not given the opportunity, as you said, like that's what makes religious education so good in that class, was that you went there, you're excited to learn, you were going to be asked, and so you had to think and kind of come up with an interpretation that you felt was like something you could stand by. And like there's no demand like that when you're just kind of getting every video recommended to you either faster or slower depending on how fast you swipe. Like there's no sense in which you're accountable to understand what's in front of you, and there's no sense in which like there's a cost for switching too fast that you miss something, right? Whereas like where there's like a slower pace, a deliberate pace, a reinterpretation, a continuous engagement, that's where real learning happens. And so I think structurally speaking, people are not only being trained to not learn things kind of in their free time, and like a general practice of like kind of passive entertainment, But I think it's even worse than that, where I think they're being trained not to have even sustained thoughts about the entertainment they consume.
That's so bad. That's so bad. For me, but it's such a different approach than the article, because for me it's engaging with other people. It freaks me out knowing that there are people that just use TikTok, and maybe
Yeah.
I'm being really a little bit assumptive, but I think in large part I am vindicated that TikTok is just the mechanism of the app just does not produce someone that's really into something, into the minutiae of something. It creates really boring people. But also, what I found interesting too, right, is that I think in some senses I am quite conservative, and I don't mean conservative in terms of like the political ideology. I mean conservative in terms of the way I engage in the world. And for me, downloading TikTok was never a thought, and I sort of apply that to other people. I was thinking, oh, nobody my age has TikTok. That's insane. Why would you have TikTok? Why would you download that? Do you not have? For me, it's I already have hobbies that I really like engaging with, and adding more to whatever I'm engaging with, what the fuck is the point? I see no purpose of downloading this app. So to see other people, that's a mainstream thing in my generation to have TikTok. I was really what? I mean, it's crazy. I really didn't understand that. And I still kind of don't. I don't know what is the impetus to. I mean, I kind of do know what the impetus is that somebody would have started the chain somewhere. It doesn't take a lot to start a chain in terms of, an influencer, a social media content creator, and then they want to engage with the content on that other platform. And so they engage in it. It's basically just viral. It goes viral that way. At least that's my guess. It's it's wanting to be a part of something that's new, and
exactly, or that their friends are involved in. It's like it kind of like that's why network effects are so are powerful, because it's like they can like drag people in. It's like it doesn't even matter if you're interested or not, or if it helps your interest or not. It's just like your friends are there, and so you have to almost.
To me, that will never make any sense. That my friends are on an application, and so I feel the impetus to download it. To me, that's weird. For me, it's you need to justify why I should join this app. I'm super conservative in that sense that if I don't have a reason, if this is not applying anything to the dimension of the friendship or the dimension of the way I'm enjoying the particular things that really, really like, then I'm not getting it. The reason I got Twitter back in 2014 was because there was a dimension that I could engage, and I barely used it. But it was a dimension where content creators would give particular updates that they just wouldn't on their YouTube channel, and so I get to interface with those additional things. But I used it to the extent that I get to see additional things about the content creators that I watch, but I'm not using this a lot. And I just eventually ended up using it for zombies, because that was sort of the public discord of zombies, which was Twitter. So that's the only reason why I got back into using, or not got back into using Twitter, but really actually became a Twitter user. And I'm actively using this. I'm loading this up every day. Before it wasn't like that, because there was not much of a reason beyond seeing those small snippets to use the platform otherwise, because all the content I liked were in a particular form, which were on YouTube, the format of YouTube, which is this long form content, not
that's my favorite shit too.
140 whatever the fuck it was originally character tweet. That's fucking boring as fuck. That's not interesting. Same with TikTok. It's all the content that I really enjoy about let's say zombies, or I guess I'm not watching zombies, but whatever the fuck I watch, that's always going to be, the fulfillment is always going to be a lot higher on YouTube, that where they're going into the minutiae of particular things. And TikTok is always going to be, fun fact about I don't fucking know, Golden Sun or Dragon Quest, I don't fucking know, Minecraft, and that's unserious.
That's it. That's what we're doing. Yeah, exactly.
Unserious, yeah.
So unserious.
I don't get it. I can't get it. I really no. I don't get it at all. How do people not have this sense of conservatism? Because I see I'm liberal in many cases where people would be conservative, but this is something that, yeah, I am fairly strongly conservative on. I have all the things that I really enjoy in life. Why do I need to take more? Why do I need more? I'm already enjoying the things that I'm engaging with already. What the fuck?
I mean, to me, I think it's that people don't want to spend the time or effort to go out and like those get those like interests. Like I think they don't have them, and they kind of are on all
There's
these
no way.
places that don't ever incentivize them to go get them. Like I think there's no sense in which it's better to have your own like engagement with something. Like I don't think. I think for most people, like they're fine with whatever they are given, which is crazy to me. But they're fine with it. They're fine with whatever they're given. I swear, like it's crazy. Like, you know what I mean? Like what they're thinking is like, I was given something. How much should I like it? Did I like it like between like a 1 and a 5? They're not thinking like, is this the kind of thing I want to be watching at like a bigger level? Is this something the kind of thing that like I want to like spend my time doing at a larger level? You know?
What the fuck? That, not really helping my perception with a lot of people. I just see.
I mean, that's what I'm seeing though.
That's
That's what I'm seeing. I gotta say.
Statistically, if that many people are using TikTok now, I don't want to assume the worst of the platform, but
True.
everything that I'm seeing is just so negatively. It just leaves such a negative impression of this platform and anyone that engages with it more than, you know, a little bit a day, unless it's like the most. Okay, well, this is, you know, the rare exception of you engaging with something in such a profound way that how am I going to critique this? But this is not how most people are using it, so don't even pretend that you're on the norm, man. This is insane. And
Not gonna do that now.
Maybe this is why for me, when it comes to drugs, I'm thinking, how can you do alcohol? How is that something that you want to do for fun? I've always questioned that. Where I'll see. Actually, it's funny because from what I hear, it's not something that I've looked up extensively, but drinking consumption in especially younger adults just has been declining.
Yep.
And that to me is awesome. I don't see that as a negative thing. I see that as that's a symptom of something negative happening or potentially negative happening, but in the sense that you're stopping doing alcohol, and that could be a real invention where we stop what's causing these sort of potentially negative things from happening, which is, you know, this increased isolation, but we reinvent the way, like we get rid of pubs. This is not a place. This is not seen as a natural gathering point, and we reinvent the way that we go and see each other and meet each other in public places. It's not, oh, let's go have one over a pint.
Go pub.
Let's go pub or a point. Like, what the?
Well, let's go pub. Yeah.
That's to me. That's incredibly.
Yeah.
It is cringe because that's just something that's put in front of you. Oh, go and enjoy something. Why would I do alcohol? To me, I'm conservative in that sense of, wow, I've really liked the milk. I don't drink coffee. This is the level of conservative I'm talking about.
I know, yeah.
But I've loved the milk my whole life. Why would I'm drinking milk. And I always tell people that too. It's sort of like proudly, like a proud idiot, where it's, yeah, I like drinking milk.
This is my thing. This is who I, I like that.
This is who I am. Yeah, it's water or
milk. But
milk.
also it's like a challenge to have other people like kind of call you out on it and be like, well, why? You know,
yeah.
It's like
I'm challenging them in the sense that I'm saying, yeah, I don't do all the shit that you do.
Right.
But I'm not being a contrarian because I never. You just for me, it's not about being a contrarian. It's I have this level of conservatism where I have all these things I enjoy. Why would I? And the thing is, I'm really big on trying new things. I like trying new things. I'm not a picky eater at all. I will eat the whole meal even though I don't like it, because that's just, to me, that's, you made a whole meal for me to fully consider it. I need to at least engage
all the
with
way.
it. Exactly. And so, not a picky eater at all. I'm fully up for engagement, and that's, for me, that's like a, I guess, like a liberal, philosophically liberal viewpoint, but I'm conservative in the sense that I'm not incorporating things that just don't seem valid. I tried coffee many times, and I'm thinking, wow, this taste works really well in some instances, but I'm not drinking a mug of coffee. This is the most vile, disgusting shit I've ever seen. Why am I drinking an energy drink when water is so convenient for me to drink? It's for me it's
Yeah.
like I drink so much water. That's why I always take a piss. I always need a piss.
You're just chugging constantly.
I'm always
Oh
chugging
yeah, hell yeah.
constantly. I just like water, and for me it's
Oh yeah.
you're basically challenging me when you say, oh, try this. Why am I trying this? I don't understand why I'm trying this. Why do I? Well, I will try it, but why do I need to incorporate this into the way I'm living my life fundamentally, the way I'm engaging with it? And that's what alcohol is. It's that challenge. You're An alcohol is a challenge of how you're interacting as a kid. As a kid, you're drinking apple juice or whatever. When you meet when you meet up with your friends, it's like, oh, let's have those like small tiny cartons of apple juice. At least that's what we did in the UK. Or fruit shoots. I remember all these different sugary drinks that you would have
Yeah.
you'd have as kids, and coffee or alcohol are a challenge to that. And I think the challenge was fucking pathetic. I'm getting all these health defects from drinking, and it's funny because sugary drinks are also bad for you,
Of
but
course, yeah.
I don't drink them anymore, so I've disintegrated them. But you're telling me to drink this alcohol is just not that's just not good. Just not even in a sort of like biological, physical sense, but in terms of what it does to your mental, in terms of your being.
Oh yeah. Let me tell you.
The culture around alcohol means that people encourage you taking it a lot, and when you're inebriated, that offer just becomes all the more alluring. And
Hmm.
wow, that sucks. And so why would I ever engage in this culture when I could just be drinking water and I could be just doing the things that I always enjoyed? It's not like I'm not growing in terms of, I still engage in games, but the way I engage in games are very different. I'm still evolving and I'm still incorporating new things, but
Exactly.
I'm not
Exactly.
incorporating what's just being put in front of me. Um, and so
And
going
because
back,
if you were, you'd feel bad about yourself, and I think you should have. Like I think
oh
that'd be
yeah, I would, yeah.
yeah.
So, well, I'm doing alcohol because everyone else is doing, and I never thought about the, um, health complications. But it's crazy that other people would do it so readily, even though that they're at risk. And I think part of it is because when it's it's different from hearing something is bad versus seeing all the sort of
How bad it is, yeah.
people with status doing the drug without, and you don't see with your eyes how bad it is in terms of they're doing it and they look fine. um and they're people that they're fully functioning members of society in terms of they can hold a job, they can do all the basics. And so with all of that happening, I think there is a sense that people say it's bad, people acknowledge it's bad, but they'll still engage in it like it's not bad at all. It's I guess, would you call it a dilemma or a paradox? At least
But
that's
they
my
won't think
observation.
Yeah, though I mean, but it's like,
It's
well, I
disconnected.
think people accept that it's bad. I think people accept that it's bad. I think it's like they're willing to engage with it and they don't give a fuck. Like I think it's the same alcohol mindset of like I don't give a fuck. I'll do whatever I want. Like that's the same mindset that's like, yeah, it's bad for me. I don't care. I think that's part of it. Is like, it's like they don't
I
they're
think that's a
making a
code.
statement about how they don't care about themselves almost by drinking so much. Like they're demonstrating that they have like a kind of almost a self-hatred a little bit.
I think that's cool. Apart from the people that actually heavily drink and they feel that they loathe themselves, I'm talking about the people that um
Oh, day to day, yeah, they're just having
they'll
they're just in the
drink.
culture. They're just stuck in the like pub culture all day.
Um, I'm talking about the people that oh, okay, I'm going party on weekends. I'm doing
Sure.
alcohol. For me, it's But then also, like, let's say people like my mom's like, oh, she done alcohol. The way she talks about other drugs is just completely different, and the sort of she's way more acute to the harm, and she's also delusional about the harm. But even perceived harm of other drugs, she's very acute to it. But when it comes to drinking, why the fuck have you why are you not piping up? Where is
Yeah.
all this indignation? For me, I think there is a little bit of a paradox happening in terms of I think you would be
Sure.
way more concerned if this wasn't so socially acceptable, and you see everyone sort of engaging with it and they can continue normal lives. Because if it was the same thing for weed and you grew up with that, I don't think you're going to have those same beliefs. I think it's a lot of it is also just informed with how socially acceptable it is and how you see people actually managing to engage um in somewhat stable lives while doing it somewhat
100%.
frequently. Yeah.
Yeah, and so you have a sense that it's like, oh, it's not even that big of a deal. Like you're right. Like it's like, oh, they just people drink all the time. It's not a big deal, right? Like that's
Mhm.
the
Well, they say I don't care in terms of to shut down the conversation rather
yeah,
than
yeah,
actually they actually really don't care. They just don't want to hear it. They don't want to hear the critiques because they know there's a contradiction going on and they don't want to integrate that. But the main thing is it's not the health thing. It's even though that to me that's still important, but it's you're just engaging with whatever is put in front of you and you don't care whether it's bad or not, or at least you have little regard for that, but you still engage in it just because it's being put in front of you. To me,
yeah,
that's
and
a scary person.
that no, but I think that's most people. I think like
No
that's what's
way,
scary
it
to me
can't
too is
be.
how consistent it is. I mean, no, it's so consistent. Like how else? I mean, people aren't making a like like a industry assessment every time they're going and deciding what to watch, right? Like they're not making a giant like a all right. What are the like types of videos that could exist that I could enjoy watching? And then what are the videos that do exist that I want to watch? And then what of those videos that I want to watch are most relevant to the things that I want to watch? Like no one is thinking that way, and not even me. I'm not thinking that way. Like I think a lot of us just kind of deal with what's put in front of us, but I think a lot of us have different like expectations of what it means to have something put in front of us. Like, if you're giving me some bullshit, like that's almost insulting to me, right? Like of course we're just dealing with what's put in front of us, but it's just like, well, are you gonna just accept what's put in front of you, or are you gonna actually like challenge it? You know what I mean? Like I think those are different things. Like,
There are levels to it. I use the English language and I haven't thought about every single word.
yeah,
I've not considered every single word, but
right,
I think there is a level of something is to me the alcohol thing is just so obvious to me, and there are things that I just don't, because there might be things that I'm doing that okay, somebody actually did need to tell me that, but it's the fact
yeah,
that people have made this observation that this is bad for you. You shouldn't do this. There are obviously other ways to engage and have fun, but you still do this thing. To me, that's insane.
yeah. That is kind of as you're saying.
That's crazy. I think alcohol culture is. That's why I respect the other. Uh, Begrudgingly respect the other drugs, because I think there is way more of a wow. You actually did something that was a little bit more out the way. At least that's my assumption of
I see what you're saying. Yeah.
these other drugs, and so there is this sort of it's sort of like being gay.
Mm.
There is this sort of like oppressed counterculture, and you have to you just have
Yeah.
to justify it in terms of, wait, why are you doing this drug?
Definitely.
And
You
there's
have
this
you have to
sort
think
of
about it. You can't just not think about it
exactly.
most of the time. Yeah. Definitely. I mean, again, I think the way people get around thinking about it is just by pretending that it doesn't matter whether they do or not, because they're like gonna die anyways, and like they hate themselves, and like there's like a self-loathing. I think I know a lot of drug addiction that's just like kind of meant to be covered up, but
Mm.
at the same time, yeah, you're right. Like I think like I think the people who like are deciding to kind of have different engagements with drugs instead of just like drinking all day, like I think those are more interesting people usually, more coherent people usually.
Mm.
Yeah, and alcohol fucks your life up. I see it. I see that happening.
Yeah, I'm thinking
You
about a
know.
certain someone, but it it is when it comes to other drugs, I think just being the out group in general, liking different things, or having different sexual preferences. I think it's the case that you get asked, okay, why are you doing this?
Yeah.
And then you're put in that challenging position, puts you in the position to think about why you're doing the certain thing, and
Yeah.
you may even stop presenting a certain way because that challenge is really challenge you. Maybe not even, it's not being a good challenge in terms of, maybe it's just being social ostracization. It's not being like an actual fundamental good faith challenge to what you're doing. But a lot of the times it is. A lot of the challenge to alternative drugs, aside from alcohol, a lot of those are valid challenges, and many misunderstood challenges too. And with that being the case, you do actually have to think of, this is how I'm engaging with it, and this is why I'm not, engaging with it in a very, over obsessive, over consumptive way that is going to damage me. And yeah, I think that to me, that person is just infinitely more interesting because you actually have a story. You don't, if I'm talking to an alcohol user, it's sort of just, it's fine. You should try it. You should definitely try it. And I'm just thinking, I'm just thinking, if a heroin user told me the same thing, oh yeah,
Yeah, you're like, oh sure, yeah, that's great. Yeah. You're right. They're less pushy with it too. People who are on like harder drugs, they're not like they're trying to hide that shit. They're not trying to like share that shit, right? Like, so it's better in that sense too, because it's like not like a thing to be proud of. Like there's a sense in which it is something that you're kind of a little ashamed of. And so I think there should be some level of kind of it's discretion around it. I think the constant like forcing it on people is just so fucking annoying. Like, and it becomes just like the center of the personality in their world. So it's just the worst.
Also, cigarette smokers, super oppressed.
Super. I agree. Actually, I agree. There's a funny like it is like show called Silicon Valley. There's this like scene where one of the characters is talking to the Chinese guy. He's like smoking indoors. He's like, "We don't have the freedoms you have in China." They're like, "You can't smoke." They're like, "We're not free like you are in China. You can't smoke inside." Like, I think that's so good.
That's what I'm saying. Is
it's
I
dead
have
on.
to segregate myself from other people. I have these smoker rooms where I look like a what you call it? I look like an African American out from the Jim Crow era, where I have to use the back entrance to use something. What the fuck is happening with cigarette tobacco smokers? But then these alcohol users are just, let's go to the lounge and I can just eat dinner with these other families with kids, and I can just go. Now, obviously it's a very different drug in terms of secondhand smoke and blah blah blah, but still it's you don't have to segregate yourself if you're doing these if you're doing another drug. And also just the social perceptions, at least from where I was around, if you smoke cigarettes, oh my word, it was just the question would come up, if you saw this fit bird but she smoked, would you go for her? And then people would just say no. It was that filthy, it was that disgusting that you wouldn't ever engage in that. Though I don't know how on the norm that is just in terms of the UK, just because EXC was smoking really young, and to me that's insane. That's really crazy. People that I don't know any. I mean, I did know. I kind of knew everyone, so I knew some people smoke cigarettes, but it was, if it was a habitual thing, definitely some people must have smoked habitually. Just statistically, that had to have been true. But it's very noticeable when somebody's smoking habitually because you just smell it.
Oh, it's so rank. It's so rank. Yeah, I know exactly. Yeah, I had relatives who were smoking a ton. It was just like you just it like comes in your nose the first time you see them, like it hits you.
Yeah,
it's like saturated them. They're like thick with tar,
Quite literally thick with tar. And honestly, I don't remember anyone smelling horrendous from cigarettes. So just around people that it was just not socially deemed as a good thing to do as a kid, obviously. But EXE came from a place where, oh yeah, you know, the group that I was in, yeah, they were all smoking cigarettes, which to me, that's what? You guys were all smoking cigarettes and you were doing it from such a young, and we're talking about primary school. And that goes up until you're 11. To me, that's insane. For me, everyone was
crazy.
so pure when we're in primary school. It's like, whoa.
Yeah. You're like, how? What happened?
Yeah, what the fuck happened? Where he was telling me he was like watching porn when he was in primary school. I'm thinking, what the fuck? Because secondary school can go up to when you're 18, because sixth form will also be a part of the secondary school, like part of the same premises, and so you have from 11 to 18 in secondary school. So we learned about all this shit very fast.
Oh, sure, yeah.
And I didn't have any older siblings too, so I didn't have that connection. But in primary school, yeah, no smoking. No, nobody was smoking. I never smoked any of that. So hearing that from, you know, someone that's like living from across basically on the opposite side of the UK, and
Right.
just having a completely different experience with those drugs.
Like,
Wow,
what?
maybe I got really lucky with
Definitely.
really good RNG right
Definitely.
there.
Oh, great RNG that you fucking dodge cigarettes being pushed on you big time. Like, because a lot of times it's like,
His
you're
whole
like,
family did it
oh,
too, by
I'm
the
in a
way.
bad place. And it's like people who have learned to use drugs to compensate, they're like, yeah, check this out. Like, here's this awesome thing. Like, they're sharing strats that are like negative, you know?
Yeah, you talk about that compensating part too. Yeah, I was talking to EXE. I was really trying to get him to level with me. I was thinking, you always use drugs when you're really bad. That's the outlet you use, and that's really interesting. Just
Yeah.
because in my brain, that's just never. Now I've never felt the same way as he has. This guy's telling me
Right.
suicidal, you know, almost every day. To me, that's I've never felt anywhere close to that. So we're coming from very different places, and maybe I would, if I had the same stimuli, I would feel the need to go for drugs. But whenever I felt bad, for me, it was always a deeper pursuit of everything that I cared about. Which is, I mean, isolated hobbies. There are not like in terms of connections with friends. I'm talking about very isolated hobbies that are already isolating. It was just like a further isolation in those hobbies. That's always brought me into a really good place where I can never sink too far in terms of, oh, I'm gloomy. Okay, well, I have this one, you know, I have like several, like, I don't even know if I should call them projects, because, you know, playing a video game isn't a project, but it's, you know, something on the agenda.
It's kind of a project.
Right,
You know,
something on the agenda to do.
Yeah.
And just continuing that, or re-engaging with something that I really cared about back in the day. For me, that is always the first place I go. But his mind goes to drugs as a coping mechanism. That's really different from the way I was raised and the way I was growing up, what people around me did, and the people that, I guess, like the content creators I watch, they weren't really talking about, you know, doing drugs. That really wasn't. No, not really. I don't. At least
That's because I mean that like I, even though I wasn't, I mean, weed was a big thing for me, but like beyond that, not at all. And I definitely saw like content creators and stuff talking about it, like, especially as I was getting kind of in like the 15, 16, like I was kind of annoyed actually how party culture was kind of such a pushed thing, I felt, for
Okay, that's way older than I was talking about. Like 15, 16, I was talking more of maybe up to 13 years old.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Um,
That makes sense. I see what you're saying.
maybe that's when when I would have noticed. But even with party culture, for me, it's no, maybe it depends what content creators we were watching, because it was the same for TV too. As I always really liked watching cartoons, and people talk about watching iCarly when they were a kid. I never watched any of those
Mm.
IRL ones. For me, I was actually super jejune when I was a kid. And even when it came to content creators, I really just I remember when Phase were a thing, and then they did the Content House. I remember like Phase Sensei and all those guys. I'd never
Yeah.
cared to watch about to watch the vlogs. Something like, oh, you guys do vlogs? I mean, I never really cared about Phase to begin with, but I saw that, what the fuck, they were doing trick shots or whatever. Like those
Yeah.
montages, watching
We're
those
insane.
montages were, oh yeah, okay, that's cool. Like
Love
you're
that.
finding
Yeah.
a creative outlet for whatever. But it's like you have a phase house and you're doing these IRL things. I don't give a fuck about any of that. And you're punching walls. I remember there's one where they were doing like a punching wall thing. That a whole wall, I think. It was so weird. And yeah, it's funny because I remember a lot about that now that I'm triggering those memories, but
Yeah.
really did not. To me, I never was like, oh, I don't care about that. I care about you playing the video game. I don't really care about
Yeah.
much outside that point, so I didn't
I was
engage in
getting
that.
pissed when they're not uploading when they started not uploading that shit, dude. I was getting pissed. I was getting
That's really
mad when they
funny.
weren't doing as much. I was getting so mad. Like,
Hmm.
um, I was like, you're basically lied to me. It's kind of how I felt about it. I felt like I felt like I had signed up for something, and like I was expecting them to give me a thing, and they just stopped for no reason. I didn't get it at
Hmm.
all. It was like you're phase and you're not doing fucking trick shots and sniping. I'm like, what is
Hmm.
even happening? Like, what's the point of phase? Like, this is stupid.
I think it might be the conservatism where for me to because by 15, 16, yeah, definitely heard about all these drugs. For me, it's why would I ever try this? Because I'm not in the I'm not in the. I mean, just in terms of acquisition, it'll
Yeah.
be harder for me. But also, why is this the first thing I'm thinking of? And why would I even want to try these to begin with? When I'm already enjoying all the things that I enjoy doing, and I already have things that I think of first when I'm not in a good mood to try and do. I just don't care to do that. Maybe other people are just fundamentally different in terms of they're a lot more willing to acclimate, or maybe it's not an acclimation, but sort of pull from their environment in terms of when
Bless
they're
you.
going through a tough time. And oh, thank you. And also mimicking too. This is a theory I had where, in terms of, I noticed that a lot of depression looks the same in
Okay.
particular groups, where depression in terms of, let's say on TV, it always sort of manifests the same way. It's always someone sort of isolating themselves, and they're, a
Huh.
heavy drinker or doing another sort of drug. And I'm thinking, depression surely can't be
Just
universal
be
and
that.
look like
It's
this.
not, no. No,
Yeah,
no, no, it's
to
not.
me,
Yeah.
um,
There's extrovert depression for sure. There's people who like are self-destructive and sabotaging and like depressed, and they like, yeah, they're like drinking and driving because they're like, I don't care. Like it's you can be an extroverted depressed for sure. Like that's the only
mhm.
thing. Manic
And
depressive,
but that's the only sort of depression that's really depicted in the sense of, oh, so obviously depression is sort of spelled out to you that that is depression,
Yeah.
and that person is dejected from life. And
Yeah.
there's a mimicking of that behavior where, at least for me, it feels like a lot of people mimic that behavior. Because why drinking? For me, it's not for a lot of people. It's at least when I ask, okay, why is this the case that you're doing drugs? For them, it's just, oh, duh, that's what you do. This is what you do when you're depressed, or this is just, this is what I do. It like a very instinct. They speak
Right.
about it as if it's
What else
very
would I do?
instinctive. Yeah,
Yeah.
but for me, it's, this is a conscious decision that you're making, and you chose to do this as opposed to something else, or as much as you can choose. But your neurons fired in a way where this is what they chose. She chose. But yeah, this is what
Yeah.
you ended
Yeah.
up
Yeah.
doing. And okay, why did they end up on this? Surely it must have been from what you've seen, everything that
Yeah,
you've
for
seen
sure.
and the input you've received, that you've chosen this. Because if you would still be depressed in a culture without alcohol, that has banned
True.
alcohol, but you would probably find other coping mechanisms to engage with.
Well,
So
yeah, and you also wouldn't be constantly given advice that like, hey, have a drink, take a load off as like a way to solve your problems. Like it's like people are given this advice, I think, when they're by other older people who are also drinking, like
Mm-hmm.
it's not just like they're not just learning of this coping mechanism just through like the ether.
Mm-hmm.
It's like there are people in their life that recommend them. This is like, yo, let's go out and have a good time and drink, or like, oh, you need to get your mind off this. Let's go out and drink. That's like the answer to a problem.
Yeah, actually, I do hear that. That's actually that's insane. Yeah. I was thinking about I'm thinking about things way too from my perspective, where I am quite isolated.
Mm.
So there isn't that. For me, it's I just solve things through I'm oh, this is what I wanted to talk about before I went to the toilet for the second time, um which was my it was in terms of, I think it was like my isolation, in terms of the mano a mano thing that I have, where I really like solving problems by myself. And this is also, I'm such a late adopter of AI. I'm thinking, like, what, people already using AI and people already
Yeah.
incorporate them. People already saying, let's chat GPT this. And it's another, one of my conservatism thing, but also it's, wow, this thing is going to be solving problems for me. That really sucks.
That's very scary to me too. I completely agree. That part of it's scary to me, big time.
And so I don't want it to become part of the work process, in terms of, well, I actually just want to solve a problem myself, because that is what I find, that is the one rewarding part that I would find. So fuck off, don't infiltrate my space. I want you to have as little effect as possible. And that problem solving, that doing that mano a mano thing is really really rewarding for me. But I was saying that toxic, it can just get really toxic in terms of, and I think in terms of current culture, it is seen as very toxic, in the sense that, let's say, toxic masculinity, part of what makes up toxic masculinity is that guy that is, very sort of fake stoic.
Yeah.
And a part of that fake stoic personality is, oh, I need to keep things to myself and I need to deal with problems by myself. And that's the whole,
Which is, I think, a strong critique of you. I think that would be the critique of you, is that you're like faking a stoicism that isn't practical. Like,
exactly, where it's oh, I didn't take hay fever pills for so long because and I'm just suffering through it because mano a mano, and I just need to deal with it myself. That's fucking stupid. But it wasn't absolute. But for me, that's I don't know if you can call it masculinity, because I'm not trying to fit. I've never
right.
Sorry, it's not. I used to care about that, but that was like when I was really young.
Yeah.
And by the point of like 14, I'm already I'm like fully gone out of that sort of like masculine, like defining myself as a man. And in the sense that I don't know if I talked about it with you before, but I definitely talked about it with Trickies, where I would never think of, choosing a girl character. Like, why would I ever choose a girl character
Yeah.
in a
Yeah.
video game? That's so
Yeah.
weird.
Yeah.
That's really crazy. Or feeling guilty about playing with dolls, or never wanting to be beaten by a woman, because that's just sacrilege, because, we're men and we're competent, and it's tribalism.
Yeah.
So, they're the out group and we're the in group. I grew out of that, and so, but that glasses thing was still a thing where I just wouldn't get glasses, and that's when I, recognized that I definitely need some sort of eye aid in order to see properly. So yeah, because this is really inhibiting me, and I just never did it because, mano a mano, I need to deal with it myself, because now I have to use an aid to do something. This is something that's helping me. This is not like, I'm not a man, I'm not living up to the ideals of a man, I'm not living up to the ideals of myself, in terms of,
Yeah.
I am so capable of dealing with this problem. I know I could adapt. And so I'm just suffering through squinting my eyes, not getting things, not writing things down, and then having
Same.
to ask the person next to me, "Hey, what was on the whiteboard?" Because I
Yeah, I
definitely
was
didn't get
literally
that
having to
down.
do that too. They kept thinking I was like peeking at their like or the tests or notes or stuff, I was like, I literally didn't even see what was on the board. I was just trying to constantly see. Like I was like, and I also hated being in front of the fucking class because I was like, I didn't like being perceived, you know.
Right, yeah. That super sucks. That like, that's ultra torture. Don't want to be
Yeah,
perceived, but
for no reason to
let's
myself.
see.
For no reason to myself. Like just no reason to do it.
hmm
That's myself. Like,
hmm That sucks. Yeah. So yeah, that's
but it's not a
a
masculine thing for you. I don't think. I think it's yeah, it's a self sufficiency, self competency sense of like autonomy. I think that's what it is for you. But
mhm.
you could make the criticism. I don't think it'd be good faith, but you could make the criticism that it's like especially the mono side. It's just like there's a right, almost manly way of doing things. There's a wrong, non manly way of doing things, right? Like even if it's not. Um,
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, because it's in masculinity in terms of it's a trait associated with being a man.
going my
And it
own way,
could
man, go my own way. Yeah.
men come my own way. Um, I remember that actually from YouTube, like 2016. I remember that. I was thinking,
Yeah.
what's that MGTOW thing? It was really
Yeah, it was just like
strange.
men being like, "Fuck women. I'm gonna do my shit. I'm gonna do my own shit." It's
It's
like
men making an identity out of not wanting to be
rejecting
with
femininity.
women instead
Yeah.
of okay, okay, just keep that to yourself. That doesn't need to be a whole sexual orientation that you reject women. Really
So funny.
strange. Um, yeah. What was I saying? Fucking MGTOW distracted me. Uh,
Oh,
it
it's
was
just
the
trait of masculinity.
masculinity. You could say in a sense that just because I'm a guy and so the way I was raised as a kid and the sort of content, um, and I don't mean content in terms of going on YouTube, though I was on YouTube on a really young age, in the sense that even like what I gravitate towards on TV and what's seen as acceptable for me to watch on TV by my parents and what I'm pushed towards by, a friend group, and then that would also rope in their parents too. It could be the sense that I also grew a sense of myself and the whole self competency thing just because I was a guy and so these are the things that were sort of tailored
Right, right.
to me. But first and foremost, it is just a self competency thing and um, wanting to feeling the loss of competency if I'm relying on something else. Uh, um, because I don't have that self reliance anymore. If I lose this thing where I'm sort of planning for something that's likely never going to happen and something that I probably
Right, right,
can't
right.
adapt to anyway, but I just see that aid as it's sort of like somebody helping you. Okay, well, what happens if they leave? I can't rely on this person. I need to be self-sufficient.
Yep.
And I'm still always gonna think that way. It's just that nowhere near to the extent that I was before, because I do think having some sort of being able to sustain yourself is something.
Essential.
Yeah,
To me,
and
that's like a sense of self. It's like the fact that I can be self-sufficient, I can ask my own questions, I can be by myself and have a good time. Like these are all really
mhm.
important qualities that I value in myself for sure.
And so yeah, definitely rejecting the over exaggerated sort of meme level self-sufficiency zombie apocalypse, or it wasn't zombie apocalypse that I was thinking of, but probably more realistic scenarios that are still unrealistic in the grand scheme of things. Or um anyway, so yeah, I reject that, and that's actually a cool thing that I guess in society in general that is out there for you. It's super tailored towards me, but it's just
Sure.
a general thing that's just in society. It's like, oh wow, that's actually a cool bit of self-reflection I can do in terms of all the archetypes that are being critiqued constantly that probably don't directly apply to me. Um,
Right.
because I may have not analyzed that if that wasn't in the forefront of popular culture, toxic masculinity and stuff like that.
I definitely wouldn't have. And I never said I also never identified myself with toxic masculinity either. I mean, to me it was just more about like having a sense of like expectations that I had other people as well as myself. You know what I mean? And like if
Mm-hmm.
they didn't meet that, it's like I wouldn't be around them kind of thing.
Wow. Can you give me an example?
Yeah, so like I had expectations that people wouldn't drink and drive. And when I saw someone who was drinking and they were saying they're gonna take us on a drive, I was like, okay, this other
Ooh.
guy I noticed didn't drink as much and let's have him drink because he's not drunk. And the guy's like, I'm fine. I'm like, yeah, but like we'll be fine if you are not driving. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm like
That's awesome.
you know what I mean? So that's an example of like me being like, I have these expectations of myself that I would never put someone else in danger by drinking and driving. And I have those of other people too. And it's like, okay, well, maybe on your own time, you can do that crazy shit, but not with me in
Mhm.
the car. I mean, it's just not going to happen. Like, it's, like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm walking home before that happens easily. Like,
Oh, that must be tough in America too. Don't
yeah,
even have a
that,
pavement
yeah,
on the side of the
big
road.
fucking, yeah, big highway, big roads type things.
Yeah,
Um,
that sucks. That
but yo,
super
I got to go get
sucks.
dinner. I will
Yeah,
talk to you later.
yeah.
Yeah, talk to you later.
Fuck,